freak.
You can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth.
What do all men in power want? More power.
And now, broadcasting live on GMN from an undisclosed location in the Arizona desert. Italian by birth, American by choice. Songwriter, poet, freedom activist, Luca Zanna with Love, Guns, and Freedom.
All systems go.
Don't tread on us. We're not afraid. You work for us. We're not your
You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna on 1340 AM K-Talks and also on Guerrilla Media Network. And don't forget also on www.lovegunsfreedom.com. My name is Luca Zanna. Today is the show, probably one of the most important show I ever done. I know, many of you always say that. And guess what? I always mean it, because I really believe every Sunday my goal here in this station, on this internet, everywhere I can, is try to bring information, facts, that they're not just made to entertain, because I'm not good at that, and that's not my purpose. I'm trying to fulfill my oath. When I became an American citizen in 2005, I swore an oath to defend this republic. And I realized immediately, then, even before I was an American, I became a naturalized American. This republic, it is the last few hours, is completely under attack by globalist forces. And, I tried to get this opportunity that I had to try to share these facts. This is not just a bunch of conspiracy or ideas or opinions. I keep those for myself. I try to bring you facts with the first goal is to wake you up. Because this is no more the America your fathers or grandfathers grew up. We are not in Kansas anymore. This is really coming to a point that now you start to knock at your doors. And, there is a proverb. I don't know if it's a proverb, but I found out this expression. We are today the results of our past. And I'm telling you, in my America journeys, in my new experience, my new life in this country, that I decided, I chose. I didn't come here by accident. I fought to be here. I left Italy because I wanted to become an American. And when I see America, I see people like the guest I'm bringing today. For me, it was the ideal type of Americans that pretty much created this country not that long ago, just a couple of, a couple hundred years ago. Now, my point is this one. Today, I will bring with you a guest that I've been trying to bring on the show a few times. He's very busy, and is somebody for me that also was on my top list. If I had to put 5 people that woke me up to this new reality called New World Order, global government, even before I became an American, well, the list is not that big, but one of these people that I really have the honor to have with me is here with me today, and his name is Mark-Koernke. Mark from Michigan. Mark, are you there?
How are you doing, sir? Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And as I was saying, I really mean it. I believe in destiny, and maybe I believe also not just destiny. There is a superior plan for all of us. Sometimes we don't see understanding immediately why, but one day around probably early 2000, after 2001 exactly, I stumbled on YouTube. Was one of the first YouTube, anyway, one video of yours. That's the bottom line. I remember that was the first video I used to be able to watch on the internet. And there was this American Peril. And I said, who is this crazy guy? What is this guy? Black helicopters and New World Order. I even didn't know what was New World Order. But you started to put out some keywords that they really touched my brain, especially after I started to wake up to 9/11. There was a fraud, according to the facts that we pretty much all should know, acknowledge. But regardless, I started to dig into your work that you did in the 90s and before even before the internet was there. And I said, wow, I can not thank you enough to have been at least starting me up to explore and face this terrible reality that now we are facing as a world, but also especially as Americans. We are facing these international globalists destroying what is left of our freedoms and republic. So you're here with me, and I really appreciate you for your job, and to have, even by accident, I am pretty much the results of your labor. I want just to let you know that.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I appreciate the compliment. Again, each person finds a different way to the same questions we all ask when we watch things or we've seen things develop and it doesn't make any sense. This is the first part of critical thinking and asking the right questions about things.
Exactly.
So
I would like, Mark, before we start, because there's so much I would like to touch with you. Many of my listeners, they may already know you, but I'm trying to reach mainstream people that normally they just watch Fox News or MSNBC or whatever. They're still in the Matrix. I would like to, first of all, start to let the people know you as a human being, as an American, briefly with your little bit of history, your background, and also you went through some tough times. I want you to know, as much as we can, give us a little bit of your introduction. Go ahead.
A thumbnail sketch of my life.
I
understand. Yeah, that's it. Well, let's start out with, first of all, nobody grows up knowing what we eventually, what we develop and learn in the way of a database. And the good thing is, I have to give credit. My parents, my mom and dad, were both my mom was the oldest of 8 on her side of the family. My father was the oldest of 8 on his side of the family, and they both grew up during the Great Depression back in the 30s. In the process, of course, they experienced unique problems and all the hardships that usually you read about. And because of that, self-reliance, or the idea of knowing how to take care of yourself and also how to think for yourself. That's one thing that my dad focused on, is not telling me what I was seeing, but asking me what I was seeing. What do you see over there?
Wow.
I think that's the most important thing about how questions can be asked, because it gets the brain juices flowing. Well, eventually I decided, like everybody back during that glorious space age we used to have in America, we used to have American engineering, I wanted to go into space. I really did. And I focused everything on that. I won a number of a NASA Science Award, Navy Science Award, several different little scholarships in the process back when I was going to school. And I got on that track, which got me in. It's funny because it got me to a unique venue of a group of people and unique different people. But somebody kind of approached me and said, "Hey, have you ever thought about military intelligence?" So I kind of got recruited directly into U.S. I went into the Army, but I went in specifically as a 94B intelligence analyst. And it was a sidebar thing. Originally, I wanted to get in the military. I'll be quite honest, I was aiming towards space. So I could qualify, even with corrective lenses, as a navigator, flight navigator. That's what I was pointed towards while I was going into aerospace engineering. We all know what happened to how they shut down the system in the 70s. And, the same burp in economy that's happening now happened then, guys. Mm-hmm. Same routines, all the cookie cutter, everything to include the fuel, the economy, the pressure from outside, and the pressure from inside. So I changed directions a little bit. And it was an interesting awakening, because as a school-trained 94B intel analyst, I had to go to Fort Huachuca, which we call Fort We Gotcha, down there just a little north of Nogales, Arizona. If you find Nogales,
yes,
and you go up the border a little bit, the U.S. Army Intelligence Center and Schools is U6, and I was stationed there and worked there as an intel analyst. Most people go into the intel analyst jobs in the military aren't necessarily recruited or trained for the mission. It's just a promotion for, it's a way to get a step up in promotion. You go into a slot and, okay, so it's an intel analyst slot. It's just a title. They don't even keep the job.
Mark, can I ask you something before you go ahead? How old you were
Go
at
ahead.
that time? Pretty much what was your age at the time?
Oh, I'm 57 now.
Yeah, but at the time when
yeah.
you were doing the analyst in the intelligence, how old you were?
I started out at the ripe old age of actually 19 going on 20.
Wow, so you were a young man. Okay.
I was actually, before that, I'd worked with Special Forces. And it's not, everybody always says they work with Special Forces. I volunteered, got into certain missions and such, and because it was in the perfect window right at the end of Vietnam. 1975 to 1977, I volunteered and did pretty much everything and anything you could imagine I wanted to. In fact, for many of you probably saw me. This is something I've never talked about much on the air. Nancy knows, because we've got the paperwork upstairs.
Okay.
I was the poster child for some of the recruiting posters by accident, simply because I was hanging on the end of a rope back in 1975.
Wow.
Rappelling from a helicopter. And it's funny because you've all seen me in one form or another. If you ever saw me in the old recruiting or some of the promotional stuff that was done way back when, and it's just because it was a helicopter rappelling operation, and the camera crew was there, and they were taking pictures, and they just liked that particular shot, or they cropped it and made it work. So that's one. Myself and Theodore Powell III.
Wow.
Who was one of the other officers. He was one of the officers who was dangling from a rope there at the time. That's just a sidebar. That was before I got into U6. In U6, to give everybody an overview, there are 3 basic missions there. Well, there are others, but the primaries are to train intel analysts, counterintelligence personnel, and interrogators. Now, everybody always hears the word interrogator, they get pretty ominous. But back in the day, it was a refined school, not the torture academy that you hear about with the idiots that we have in the system now. Totally different world, totally different type of philosophy. The failures that we have today are nothing like the men we used to have.
Okay.
As far as the system goes. And I can't emphasize that enough, because I saw it firsthand. We actually were part of the different classes, instructional. Everybody traded off on jobs. And so I trained as an intel analyst, came back out of U6, worked with 5th Army headquarters, also with divisional headquarters. And at that time, back in the early 80s, before anybody knew what Rex 84 was, we started to receive a series of briefings and classes. Actually, they weren't classes. They were actually indoctrinational processes for command and divisional personnel to prepare for detention camps.
Wow. And this is like...
And it wasn't a kind of sort of. It was this is what we're going to do. But they were testing the water to see how the military would respond.
Yes. And what was the response at the time?
It's interesting, the people that were approaching us, now the way this works is, for those people who aren't familiar with the military, you have what we call the G shops. G1, G2, G3, G4, you have different elements that are part of your operations. Everybody sends personnel to these staff and briefings that when they're brought in from outside. So everybody took their turn, and each of us in the intel shop that I was with, I worked as the intel analyst. I had one of the person who was a counterintelligence coordinator. I was also cross-trained as a counterintelligence coordinator, 96C. That was my secondary, one of my secondary MLSs. I had 2 others. But all the rest of our people, our counterintelligence field personnel, everybody had to take a turn going to these briefings because we had other things, we had other missions we had to perform.
Okay.
Well, we pieced together what they were doing because we got part of this. And the military people, basically what they said was, well, how do you feel about, violating the Constitution? And it wasn't the civilians that stepped forward and said, no, guys. It was the military personnel who stepped forward and put their foot down and got flustered because of what they were hearing. And that's very important to remember. It was the people from the regime, from the at that time, the beginning of it was the the Carter regime, and then later it would be the beginning of the Reagan administration. But at this point, what I didn't know or didn't understand is completely now is that by this time, this is after the assassination attempt on Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
And George Bush was running Washington, not Ronald Reagan.
Yes.
So this was a Bush administration, and it makes sense because the people that we had that came to us were people who were from offices that normally would not be approaching us. And what they were looking for were people to manage detention facilities inside the United States, to operate interrogation centers inside the United States, to operate a number of different sorting sites. And what's funny is because on the one hand, we've been getting these piecemeal reports, and I also worked as an inspector, so I had to go out and go to different battalion and brigade headquarters, and I would inspect the armories, check security documents, ensure that physical security operations were in place. That was my particular niche of the inspection team. Well, I'm walking around with a guy, and this is, of course, middle of the day, and we're walking through the complex, and he starts talking about, well, have you applied for any of the new jobs?
And what were the new jobs?
Well, that's what I said. and at the time we were looking, you're always looking to, try and get a job that's a little more fixed and regular, and you don't have to worry about losing, right? Mm-hmm. So I just shut up and listened. I learned a long time ago, listen. And he starts, well, what kind of job? No, I haven't had a chance to. What have you seen that's available? And he goes, well, basically we went through interrogators. For the interrogation of men, women, and children. The sorting of prisoners, as in men, women, and children. And the detention facilities and operating those and the support and coordination for those for men, women, and children.
Wow. This is on U.S. soil.
Well, he was talking to me for almost an hour. while we were walking before he realized. It was like a light bulb finally went on. He turned and he looked at me, and his expression was like, that beaker from,
Yes.
from the Muppets.
Yes.
Whoa! He realized that I had given him nothing. I had no input, and I really didn't know what he was talking about.
Wow.
However, I did now know what he was talking about because he had pretty well mapped everything out for, what it was that they were recruiting for.
This
But
exactly.
it was very compartmentalized.
If
and
we can
this
give
is
it-
where, again, I came back, talked to Nancy about this. Of course, I kind of stewed on it for a bit because this is one of those things where this comes at you from right or left field at an angle, oblique, and it fit with all of the other stuff that we were experiencing in other parts of the command.
Mark, can I ask you something? This is, if you want to
Go
give
ahead.
a timeline, when was exactly, you think, about this meeting? This
80 to 83, but 80 to 81 is where the big first step, the first push began. By 1983, they were in planning, early 83, late 82, early 83, they were in extensive, already deep planning. MPPW commands were already selling themselves out, and some were denying, some were refusing to do, others were accepting. So there was a division that was going on inside the military at the time, which progressively we pieced together.
Mm-hmm.
The high point in this in 1982 is one of our guys. I won't mention his name. He came from the Navy, came over to us and worked for Army Intelligence. He had gone to one of the meetings and he came back, and whenever you went to one of these things, you're already pissed as it is when you're finished listening to these bureaucrats from Washington, because every time they kept pressing the same route. They come back to the same point, basically saying, well, you do want to help us to violate the Constitution, right? And they kept kind of like, it was that pregnant pause, like they're waiting to see who's going to, say something. Well, everybody learned to be sheep-faced, in other words,
Yeah.
I'm just listening. And he came back and he sat there for about a good hour and a half, just kind of staring at the wall and the typewriter in front of him. And finally, while I was busy finishing up some other paperwork at my desk right there, was a very small armored cubicle. We're behind like 3 feet of concrete, guys. And he goes, Mark, those characters upstairs couldn't care who the hell they worked for, whether they were foreign or not. They'd follow whatever order as long as they got paid for it.
Wow.
And it's like, this could not have been a good meeting, But what he was referring to were these characters from Washington who were throwing bigger cards on the table, talking about the idea of the detention camp operation, police state operations in the United States, the whole 9 yards. So we were seeing what we didn't know at the time. See, everything was compartmentalized. We didn't know the actual title for this, but this was Rex 84.
Yes, and also I'd like to remind to the listeners, at the time there was no internet yet for civilians, at least like we have today.
No, this was all,
Okay.
You had to find people of like mind.
Yeah.
Seriously. Yes.
I mean, this is very hard to understand how tough it was to put all these things together at the time where we didn't have the chance to communicate like we're doing now. So this is a very important thing. Now, question is, probably is a rhetorical question, because I already see at that point I would start to have some, like you said, some bulbs in my head start to flashing. When did you wake up? When did you realize that America that you were ready to serve and die for wasn't anymore the republic that our founding fathers created? I mean, when was?
Well, early on, we already knew we had problems when this started. By the beginning of 81, there were significant issues that were being raised because they were putting, the probes out. They wanted to see who they could trust and who they couldn't trust. Now, it's funny because, you see, I came into service in the 70s. And what most Americans don't know is that we came a breath away from a civil war in the early 1972 window to 73 window of activity. And the country was heavily divided. But what most people don't realize is that in reality, Nixon was actually the American commander. Most everybody that was pressing against Nixon were the internationalists who were trying to destroy the sovereignty of the country. And working with different people who had been in service back in the day, only a few years earlier, this subject kept coming up from different directions, where you'd be sitting around at night with a lot of people, you're relaxing for a bit, and then they get into what recent history had happened. And the argument is that, and I know this firsthand from, dealing with the bureaucracy, that the country had been divided up back in 72. The Marine Corps was going to go with, the presidency, elements of the Army were going to go with the presidency. Other elements they counted on, they could give them orders and they'd go along with the internationalists. And there was open talk about a battle for the east coast of the United States, that would be probably the initiator of a war inside the U.S.
Wow.
So that's back in the early 70s. By the 80s, only 10 years later, the characters that had tried to perpetrate or actually did perpetrate the actions to try and shift the country out in the middle 70s, well, George Herbert Walker Bush is one of those people.
Yes. This is exactly my point. Now I would like to say, unfortunately, I wish you were wrong, because I know that myself, I'm a newbie, okay? I just started this probably about 10 years ago, but even a little more. But the reality that people probably till now, they're still laughing at us. We're bringing evidence after evidence. We're bringing new pieces of legislation that now pretty much bring all on the open, like the Patriot Act or the National Defense Authorization Act. Or, people when used to make fun of you, and I know because I read the articles that there are, a former FBI agent making fun of you, that you're completely, so focused on this new world order, like these things like it's part of some movies. And now I would like to play for the listeners, because that's what I'm trying to do here. I would like to believe that all this was a big bad dream, and mark-koernke was some sort of a, movie character, and I can wake up in the morning and I'm back to the America that when I came here from Italy, I was hoping for. No. Guys, we need to wake up. The first way we can fix this problem, acknowledge the reality that this is not the illusion that you think. So when people make fun of the New World Order, because we try to mention this concept, you want to call it global government or New World Order, this is real. Let's play 1 second from the mouth of these devils, little bit this, because maybe if me or mark-koernke says New World Order, the next few minutes we're going to be pretty much labeled like a bunch of crazy people. Let's see now these leaders from the America or different countries. Let's listen 1 second.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
That's the vision.
There's a need for a new world order.
Scumbag number 2, Kissinger.
It has different characteristics in different parts of the world.
The affirmative task we have now
Scumbag number 3, Joe Biden.
To actually create a new world order.
A world in which there is the very real prospect
Back
of a
to
new
scumbag
world
number
order.
1.
It's about the
Former
future
President Bush.
of Europe and a new world order.
After 1989, President Bush said, and it was a phrase that I often use myself, that we needed a new world order.
That was scumbag Bill Clinton, and there is so much more. I mean, this is just scratching the surface. Now, Mark, you know why I wanted to bring this up? Because people still believe that this is a bunch of conspiracy theory. I mean, like we're just making it up. What do you think about it?
That's what's fascinating about this is, again, is the arrogance level where they're right in your face. They tell you that you didn't hear what you just heard.
Exactly.
And even as they're saying it, well, that guy's crazy for repeating what I just said. Think about it. What you just heard didn't just happen by all of those characters in one room in 1 minute or in a few hours of each other. You're talking about stretched out over a period of years, and those are just samplers of repeats of those comments in many forms by each of those individuals over decades.
Yes.
See, that's where you actually have to do the reverse. You have to laugh at anybody who is foolish enough to try and argue against.
Yes.
You have to look down upon them the way that they think they're going to reverse it on you. If you reverse it on them, it's like, well, how can you possibly, with the knowledge base available now, deny this? How could you? You have to be an idiot.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, I'm not putting down, but I am putting.
It is.
Putting down the ones of the perpetrators that try to attack us.
You know what I believe? Part of people that are supposed to be among us, we are all going to face the same reality. And when they're still in denial, I start to understand this is part of humanity, because there is a part of humanity that want to face reality and, of course, committing themselves to try to solve these problems, okay? Sometimes also the reality can be really terrible, like this one, and you must do very serious decisions and commit yourself. Then there is the part that they try to hide behind not even the ignorance, try to just the arrogance and to avoid to face the reality. Because the moment that people start to realize that this is a serious problem for us and for the next generation after us, then they need to start to act. And many people, unfortunately, they're afraid to act. They're afraid also to face reality. And that's why I think these globalists, they know society, they study psychology, they have people, computers now using models, and they understand that they can also put in our face, like, I don't know, terrible crimes, and will still people, part of the population, would not believe. Mark, did you ever watch a TV series that it was, when it happened, when it was broadcast, I was even in America. I was still in Italy. I was a young man in Italy. Probably I was a child there. It's called America with a K. And there was a TV series that it shocked me when I was able to find a copy that is very hard to find. And it was with Robert Urich and Christopherson. Yep. Did you remember that?
And it was only shown once on national television, which is unheard of with a miniseries because they make their money on the reruns.
Exactly.
And it was shown one time, and it was locked away. And there's only two ways that you can see that miniseries. One is if back during the day, some people ran their VHS recorders and recorded the whole program, including the ads.
Mm-hmm.
The other version, where it came from, is a producer died back in the 90s, in the late 90s. He actually had the one working copy of America with a K in his library because they didn't burn everything.
Jesus.
And what happened is a woman bought the collection, and then she was listening to one of my programs in the 90s and announced to everybody, oh, I have a copy of it. I actually can sell copies of it because I have the copy of it.
Wow.
And so the reason, one person, this is a fluke, one person dying who was a producer for the big studios in Hollywood. He had a lot of other videos, too, that nobody's seen for years, or movies that had been taken out of circulation because they weren't in line with the agenda. And America, the miniseries, the way you see it on YouTube now, the copies that you see, most of those are from the master copy that this woman had, where she made VHS copies for people back in the 90s.
Yes, 1987, I was able to pay decent money for an old burned DVD. I think I paid $60. I mean, and I was happy. Even I didn't want to pay that money, but I really realized that was a message. Somebody was trying to send a message. I don't know, because maybe sometimes they just have some sort of, I don't know, their little crazy mind. They try to tell us things that are going to happen to us or they're going to do to us. But that was the most prophetic, realistic piece of entertainment that is not entertainment at all. I wish every American can find a way to watch this this TV series, because it is like almost a blueprint. What's happening right now. And it gave me chills. It gave me depression sometimes, but I forced myself to watch it all. And after that, I started to get the motivation more than ever to try to do everything I can to wake up my fellow American. I don't care if it's next door, my next neighbor, or over the internet, over the phone. We are all in danger, and we must prepare, because this is exactly the point of the show. First of all, we must acknowledge there is a problem. Then we try to find a way how we can try to fix this problem, and there are different ways. And then we must have a B plan, because sometimes not everything goes the way we wish, and we must be prepared. And, we can all still believe that you can vote, you can do whatever you want. We know very well. Look what happened just a few days ago with Bonner, and the Congress sold out. If you believe that you're still a Republican and you have some sort of a difference, you must really get some medication for your brain. I mean, you must realize that this is completely gone. The system is corrupted. They control both parties, and the illusion is pretty much like this sort of a crazy game to keep us separated. It's time to wake up, unite, even with our little differences sometimes. I don't care if you're left or right, center. We are all going to be slaves. That's the reality. Mark, now, after you did your experience in the Army, what happened to you? I mean, how did you continue your life?
Well, there's a couple of things that I did. Number one, I didn't leave the military completely. But in fact, at the time, we continued to work quietly behind the scenes, and I can talk about it now.
Okay.
But a lot of the information about Rex 84 was by people like myself who stayed anonymous. this is something where even the other parties, I won't mention by name, but they're individuals who saw what was going on. And there was yet another division going on inside the military, a subdivision where people were making a decision. You're either going to be with them or you're going to be against them.
Wow.
And this happened progressively over the 80s, through the 80s. The Bush administration did not just take place when Bush finally became president. After the assassination attempt on Ronald Reagan by whoever, I believe it was George Bush who actually did it, to be quite honest, because everybody involved were family friends.
Yes.
Everybody, including the assassin. The attempted assassin, Mr. Hinckley, is the son of a business partner of George Herbert Walker Bush's. So it didn't succeed. Reagan stayed in name in power, but the people who worked around him were driven out. The people who were pro-Reagan were driven out. The people who were CIA Bush were moved in. So by the beginning of the second term of Ronald Reagan, it was pretty much a Bush administration with regard to who was making the decisions in the different elements of the government.
And
at that point in time, what we had to do is try to figure out how could we build more people up. Well, we created different mechanisms inside the machine and built them up ourselves. And so I helped to create OPFOR Training Command, which we built from scratch. And we trained Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, active, reserve, National Guard, and in the process, we were able to start to build up a militia component, quite extensive.
When you say the word militia, I already talked about this concept many times. Please open your brain, listeners. Now you're driving maybe it's the first time you're going through this show. Maybe you think we're a bunch of crazy. Remember one word. Militia was exactly the foundation of this country. If we're here today as America, whatever it's left of this republic, because people, the regular American, not the professionals, the militia was probably the main defense and the blood that created this country and what used to be our freedom. I say used to be because it's pretty much gone. So it's not a bad word.
Virtually the whole military. I mean, we didn't have a regular military before 1775.
Exactly.
And even after 1775, guys, what, did we grow regular soldiers in a potato patch somewhere? No, we didn't.
No.
They were all militiamen. And it's just that we eventually, before the Republic, before the Articles of Confederation, before the Declaration of Independence, there was the militia.
So exactly. And I try to ask to the listeners that they are new to this concept. When we say militia, it means regular people. And in some states, for example, like the state of Arizona, if you read the Constitution, we are pretty much that every man from 18, starting from 18 to 45, automatically is into the militia, okay? And there is the organized militia and the unorganized militia. So it is not a bad word, but they try to make you believe that, especially in the 90s, all the things that happen, they try to completely destroy the sense of creating unity and awakening and also preparation. Because the militia idea, it is not to have an army ready to be deployed. It is a body of men and women with a plan and preparation ready to defend themselves in their own communities against different type of threats. Doesn't need to be just the aliens coming down from Mars. Could be tomorrow, could be also a natural disaster, could be, civil unrest. But of course, let's not forget, could be more important, a tyrannical government. And the example that I think we can still have a hope to succeed, because I'm trying to really to figure it out what we can do now. I believe that we pretty much at the last few minutes of time that we have left to prepare. I don't believe anymore that Washington can do anything. It's gone. Or because they are bought out, or they are corrupted, or they've been blackmailed. Something's going on that is completely out of control there. There is no hope in Washington, in my opinion. And
totally...
Go ahead,
it's totally
Mark.
Contrary to anything that has to do with being an American now.
Exactly.
In fact, they're proud and arrogant of the fact that they are promoting an international agenda, not an American agenda.
Exactly. And then let's look at facts, okay? Where people can say, oh, but this is still the America. You still have freedom. First of all, wake up. No, I say always, we can have different opinions on different type of socioeconomics. One thing we should all pretty much understand, have in common. The National Defense Authorization Act is bringing us back to before pre-Magna Carta. Now, this country, what used to be America with a C, it became America with a K. There is no more due process. I think even in China, they give you a phony process, a phony trial. And then they shoot you in the head or the back, of course. But now, with the National Defense Authorization Act and the Patriot Act, of course, this didn't start just with Obama. but Obama really finalized it and put it on steroids. For the first time in this country, before we had the king, but even with the king, we still had the Magna Carta. We are right now at the point that the government can design any one of us, American people, potential terrorists. You don't even need to be a declared terrorist. You don't need to be tried and found guilty. Just suspected terrorist. Put it down in writing, please. Suspected terrorist, no judge, no jury, no trial, no due process, no lawyer, nothing. And you can be detained indefinitely. If this doesn't give you chills on your back, and now this is the law of the land. Even for me, it's just a piece of paper, because the law of the land against the Constitution is null and void in my book, but still, in their mind, is the law of the land. And many other zombies out there, especially the new generation of law enforcement, we will follow the law of the land if asked. So this is here, right now in America. Now, when we look at this, look what we have right now in the last 6 years. But Bush was anything different. He was just doing it, and people didn't notice because they didn't want to notice. Now, Obama, people finally waking up a little bit. We are living completely in a new, like almost the time of the Caligula. We have the Senate. It is pretty much just there for the show. And the emperor, now we have an emperor. Congress doesn't exist anymore. So now, this is the reality. Now, what's next, Mark? What do you think? Because, you have your opinion, you have your experience, you got facts, and you start to have some judgment. You've been doing this a long time ago. What do you think, where we are right now?
Well, the interesting thing about it is that the bad guys definitely have been trying in what is a hard press for the last 3 years to accomplish one thing: disarm the American people.
Mm-hmm.
In 2013, we saw a massive wave attack on a broad front, and it was all just like the Obamacare thing. It was, don't read it, don't think about it. We're just going to shove it down everybody's throats, and everybody will accept it, and then they're going to come out and get the guns, and you're not going to be allowed to have this, and you won't be allowed to have that. Well, remember that they tried to tell us before that, go to sleep, and we're not after your guns, we're not doing this. And now, even after they've done this, they're now are trying to claim they never did it, which is an example of, again, the logic of the bunny in the survival course. You pet the bunny's head, then you grab him by the neck, and you flip his body over, and you break his neck.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they're thinking they're going to do. They're going to catch us all off guard. And the thing is, a big chunk of America is pretty cognizant. A lot of people, even listening right now, won't necessarily talk to a lot of other people, but you're not alone. They know, or should know, they're not alone. That's where the most common mistake is, because of, listening to the controlled media. There is a monster chunk of people that just stopped this from happening because they said, go ahead and do it.
Yeah. No, I believe
and that's
that.
That's what we have left. They have to try and disarm, because then the rest of what basically is 1922-23 communist Russia all over again, the Red Terror.
Yes.
Then they could do what they wish.
Exactly. And this is the point. Reading Sun Tzu, The Art of War, you realize that the enemy, the big general, the best general, the optimus battle, there is the best victory, is when they put you in a situation that you have no hope to win. It's like a chessmate. So in my opinion, what they're trying to do now, they try to gain more and more and more advantage. More and more, probably, if they're smart enough, in my opinion, what they should do is just wait another generation, because now with Common Core and all this re-education system that they have in the public school, we're going to have a new generation of zombies, pretty much, and but I don't know. I think they have deadline. I think things are pressuring very much, and I see things that are happening. For example, now this Agenda 21, this confiscation of millions of acres of public land, like, for example, at the Bundys last April. I was there, and I realized one thing. What you're saying is exactly right. The moment that they see that the American people stop being brainwashed, lazy, and somehow, I don't know, just apathetic, and they get together, even just standing in front of their rifles. Because what we did then at that day, April the 13th, we were just standing and say, shoot us, go ahead. Guess what?
Yeah, start it and see what happens. And that's what their demeanor changed completely, didn't it?
Exactly. And they see, wow, they give a damn. They couldn't believe it. And this time, it wasn't just, oh, this is not my problem. It's happening in Nevada. Oh, this is not my problem. I don't eat cows. I don't care. I live in Arizona. I probably don't even like cows. I went there. And I hope more thousands and millions of people, we are ready to help each other. Because this is happening. They're testing us out. And the best way, in my opinion, to avoid violence is to show that we mean business. Otherwise, we're going to be pretty much taken in the middle of the night. Now, Mark, you have a radio show that I love, by the way. Let's talk a little bit about your radio show and where people can listen to it.
Whoa, boy. Well, we're doing all kinds of radio. I do 6 hours a day. I do 3 in the morning on what is www.themicroeffect.com from 8 in the morning until 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And that's on from Monday through Friday. And that's on themicroeffect.com, www.themicroeffect.com. We cover all the subjects that you're talking about here and a whole lot more, everything from good governance, the courts, militia organization and operations, logistical support, tactical concepts, politics, and we have fun because it's in the morning, so it's kind of like a drive time thing. And hopefully we keep you awake and keep you from falling asleep behind the wheel while you're headed to work.
You know,
and educate. The important thing, like you said, is educate. Give people knowledge. Show them where to go to find more, and crack open their brains. Get them to think for themselves. That's really what we're trying to do with the program in general.
Exactly. And, when you got some topics, like you have a lot of topics about tactics and also, going down to ammunitions and things. This is my best hour. I mean, I really relax. Sometimes I just replay the rebroadcast or the download. I download the show, and there is one of the most beautiful moments of my day at night. I listen to your show while I clean my rifle, and I smoke a cigar. It's the most relaxing time of the day. I know people think it's crazy, but I really like it, and I have a lot of good memories the last few years listening to you while I'm cleaning my rifles. Now, you went through a lot. You had a chance to listen and witness all this preparation against the American people, and also you went through some tough times. I know you spent 8 years in jail. I read a little bit about you, and not just because come out of a trial or of a judge. I know very well how can be all this manipulated. I read your story, but I know that you went out. You spent the awful time in jail. Tell us briefly exactly your version of the story, please.
Well, what happened, it's quite extensive, but we can do it simply this way.
Yes.
The feds, in conjunction with foreign parties, actually fabricated a bank robbery in town.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I had absolutely nothing to do with it. We weren't a participant in it. In fact, it was timed so that as we were driving through town, we're in a small dot in the map, Dexter, Michigan. Anybody can find it. You can even do it a Google map thing and drive through town and see where I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But in the middle of town, this took place. The character walked out or robbed the bank. We drove by, and everything was plugged in to focus on us and actually to try and I believe they planned on killing us on the expressway. That pretty well has come out of the wash from county deputies that passed on information, etc. But basically what they did is attacked us. Rather than sitting in the kill zone, eventually we actually moved down the road, got to a safer location. They beat me down, of course, but by that time I'd gotten my sons out of the car by getting away from them because I think the plan was to do more damage, obviously. Went through the whole process where they had me, tried, of course, went through the court system. It was pretty well kangaroo, and ended up with, of course, a number of different charges. Not all of them was I found guilty of, and it had nothing to do with the bank robbery, by the way. It simply had to do with absconding with myself. Yeah. I absconded with myself because I was, because I was, not willing to just let them roll over us and, execute us at a particular point.
Yeah, and this is exactly the point because, it's funny because there is an article out there. What you're saying, it's amazing. They could never even connect you to this robbery.
No, as a matter of fact,
they admitted it.
To give everybody just a couple of things I could play them. I've actually got them on tape.
Yeah.
The 911 tape, they were listening on the dispatch. We have the dispatch tape. 911, yeah, this is Ann Arbor. This is Great Lakes Federal Savings, downtown Dexter. Yes, we just been robbed. Oh, is he still there? No. Where did he go? Well, he stepped outside, walked across the street, and went over to the sheriff's office.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And she goes, what, repeat that? He goes,
Yeah.
He just walked outside of the bank, went across the street, and over to the sheriff's office.
Yeah. They admitted it, by the way. This is an article that I found out online. It's amazing, how much even they have to admit this stuff. This is a retired FBI agent, my encounters with infamous militia figure Mark from Michigan, okay? And Craig Stayskull, whatever is his name, and even him, the truth is the truth. They never could they had to admit that you had nothing to do with this robbery. They completely put you in a state of fear, because I tell you, if I see cars or police chasing me and I don't even know why, I believe that they want to kill me, okay? And
well, initially when we got the dispatch back, the feeling was that they were putting us in a particular place on the road, actually, and I had two of my sons with me.
Wow.
So the idea is now, and we've seen enough of this. You got to remember, I've been doing decades of work either within the system, and I also worked in broadcasting. Guys, I've covered all of the different types of assassinations, attempts on people's lives, fabrication of BS over and over again.
Yeah.
And so I'm not like a witness to one event. I've virtually covered, and we've either helped people with situations thousands, and I'm not exaggerating, thousands of times.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's the reason for this, desperately trying to plug something in. The character who actually did the bank robbery was living in a safe house. We don't know if it was a foreign safe house or a government safe house in a closed community in the middle of the state of Michigan. No information on the tax property was allowed, on who's paying the taxes or who owns the property was allowed, and anybody who's in real estate knows that that's public information. Whenever we find something like that, it's typically a safe house or a government-run complex, a facility paid for by the Fed or by by somebody else.
Yeah.
But this person, eventually they went through the motion with him. He was out in less than, in and out in less than 2 years. In other words, he was told to do whatever he was supposed to do, did it, and they popped him right back out. That's typical for an informant.
Yeah.
If he even spent the time in prison.
Yeah, maybe having a break,
With my charges, it was supposed to be, well, you'll be out on parole in 2 years.
Yeah.
I had a perfect record. I had no arrest record. I have no background, by the way. In fact, they've even had to, this is interesting because I've pointed this out on the air. For everybody else, pay attention. They're fabricating and putting stuff into people's files through the prosecutor's office all the time.
Yeah.
Now, I had a TS SBI clearance with the military. Okay, that's top secret special background investigation, and an SBI cost about, at the time when I went in, about $80,000, which is big money back in the day.
Yeah.
Still a good chunk of change today to do a background check because they do the investigation. They send the agents out. They talk to your family members and neighbors and cats and dogs and everybody they can.
Wow.
The prosecutor's office fabricated information, even creating a juvenile file in my record that doesn't exist, that never existed. See, the mistake they made is this. I also keep copies of everything as it was generated over the years. So I have the copies of everything and multiple copies because I was taught by the old boys in the military, always duplicate everything you got.
Yeah.
So I have all of the original research files and all the copies of all of my clearance files. And I can show you the difference between what they tried to fabricate and insert into the national NCIC records, which is the computer background system we have. And it's totally contrary to all my actual records. Well, this is an example where they were trying to puff stuff up. I had no background, perfect record, no conflict in the system. I had to protect myself, but that's never usually put on record.
Yeah.
And I still actually maxed out.
Yeah.
No good time, no parole, maxed out for a little over 7 years.
Wow. And this is the point, because I bring to the show people that, first of all, I'm glad that we're talking about this because, first of all, I want to show you that what happened to Mark can happen tomorrow, today, to any one of us. If you think just because he's coming out from a court system, wake up. Okay? I mean, they can control everything. They can set up every one of us. And Mark probably is lucky that he made it alive. That's my point. And this is my opinion, of course. I took the time to research, to try to do some sort of just internet investigation. And there is so much that pretty much show that this was, in my opinion, as a setup. That's what it was. And you're really lucky. I think maybe it was, I don't know, not in their plans, not everything worked out good for them. You're supposed to be gone that day.
I wasn't probably supposed to. In fact, let's put it this way. Inside the system, just to give you an idea, people all through the system there are decent people everywhere. Category 11 political prisoner is what I was listed as. How do I know? Well, a certain person sitting across the table from me that worked in the system goes, she says, would you sit down for a minute? I sat down, and the person turned the computer screen around, which she's not supposed to do, and she goes, can you tell me what that is? And it said Category 11 prisoner, and it's Category 11 prisoner, contact this number, and this number. Wow. What's funny is I just had the write-up from the law library that I had been doing the research on. It came back. I said, just sit right here and don't move. Went back, picked all my information up, sat back down at the table, and I said, read what it says right here. Category 11, political prisoner.
Yeah.
What does it say on your screen right there on that entry? And she looks at it, and it says, Category 11 prisoner, reference this telephone number. In other words, call this number. If you want to be told what to do, how to screw me, or what to do to me, call this number.
Mark.
So she said, really? She goes, well, let me show you something. I was curious about that. And she said, watch this. And she hit the cursor, and she deleted all of that from the file from that day forward so that anybody else that looked at that on the computer wouldn't find that. Now, that's one of the reasons I can say now, we'll talk about it because it's been long enough, that person is safe and secure and out of the system. But that person altered what was in the computer that anybody else would have pulled up to make brownie points.
Yeah.
There's people through the system that all feel the same way that we all do here. I would point out that there's a kind of a gap. We jumped ahead, and we have to because we don't have so much time here. But when I did American Peril, that was done in 1993. And before all of this other stuff, which, again, if you look my name up, you'll find it's Mark, last name Koernke. If you do a search, you'll see all kinds of propaganda, guys. But I challenge you first to watch American Peril, which you can find on YouTube.
Yes.
Watch it, and then you'll understand why all that other propaganda was generated the way that it was.
Yes, Mark. That's why I say what you did before without any type of access. Now it's easy, with the internet, if you have an open mind, you can find all this stuff. At the time, it was amazing. Like Bill Cooper, your job, for me, was one of the, I always remember you like one of the people who was trying to warn what was coming. And now it's here. Mark, what do you think is going to happen? I'm not trying to play a psychic here or any type of magic powers, but, you got experience. You look at facts, what's going on right now, the economy, Obama, all these new pieces of legislations, the small arms treaty that even is not ratified by Senate is still in their book. It's happening. What do you think is going to happen in 2015?
Well, 2015 is going to be the year of battle, I think, in that the bad guys, like you said earlier, you're right on the money. It's like they're on a schedule they have to keep.
Yeah.
And they're frustrated. I believe personally playing the race card, let's just think about this. They could have done this earlier on in Bummer's administration, right?
Yeah.
Why not do this in the second year? Why not do it in the third year? But you'll notice that the whole rabid race card was played the end of this last year. That, to me, is a desperation act, which means that the bad guys are trying to get something going so that they can plug the police state in, which, by the way, the latest thing about, get behind the cops. No, I'm behind peace officers. I'm not going to be behind the cops because, the state of Connecticut, all their anti-gun stuff is still in place.
Yeah.
New York, all of their anti-gun stuff is still in place. In Washington State, they just made it illegal for anybody to hand a gun to somebody else without it being a high crime.
Yes.
You can't hand a gun to your wife in the kitchen without being all of a sudden a high criminal.
Wow.
Well, with that being the case, why did they do that? What was the agenda? The agenda is to create conflict and to try and get the gun grab going. So are you going to get behind the police? When the police, supposedly it's because of those black evil, the black rioters and this and that and the other. Well, the black rioters are bought and paid for by the same Fed who runs the ATF and Homeland Security and everything else. So they're trying to herd you with the classic A and B program or the Hegelian dialectic, thesis, antithesis, synthesis, create the problem, demonstrate the problem, and come up with a solution people otherwise wouldn't accept. Because once they get you all so that you're going to go rah-rah behind the police, okay, so the same police you're getting behind then are told, go get the guns in Connecticut. Yes. Are you going to be behind the police?
Yeah, you're right.
Or they say, go get the guns in New York and beat down every door. We got to support the police because they're going after the gun owners.
Yeah, no,
you see how that's the kind of propaganda they play, and it's the kind of garbage we need to be prepared for. So what we need to understand is we're a third team. And the attack on the weapons is critical to the attack on the rest of our property and the country.
Mark,
that's what it comes down to.
One thing today was just the introduction. I wanted just to show to the listeners who you are as an American, as a human being, and pretty much the job that you did. And that's why I say, people, we can talk for hours here. What you got to do, you got to go on YouTube and find Mark's material. Find American Peril. please, and watch this, and then we can talk. And then I would like, there is so much to cover. One thing I really would like to do, after we understand what's going on here, I like your experience to start to talk about, and it's not going to happen today, unfortunately, at the end of the hour, what is about the militia? How can the average Joe, the average Jane, American people, and even people that they're here from another country, but they love this country, and they're even in the process to become Americans, okay? We don't need to be completely full-blood. We want to come here, and we believe in the principles. We want to be ready to defend this republic. And I would like to talk with you next time. I pray that you can be back on the show with me, and we can talk probably just about how to prepare for what's coming. Can you promise?
Absolutely.
Would you like to be with
me, sir?
I really appreciate you. Listen, I dedicate a song for you right now that it's going to be, you already watched it probably. It's called Come and Take It. I wrote that song, and it's in your honor and all the fellow Americans that they believe that when the time comes, they will not give up and they will not surrender. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having
Come,
me.
come and take it. Come and take it. Come and take it. Come and take it. Take it, you're gonna like it, you're gonna feel like it's paradise. Come and take it, you're gonna get it, you're gonna taste it, what's between your eyes. Come and take it, come and take it, come and take it, come and take it. No more false illusions, enough of your phony hope. You've stolen our son's future, your empty words are like dope. If you want our guns, you want our souls. If you want our lives, here we stand in line. Come and take it, you're gonna like it, you're gonna feel like it's paradise. Come and take it, you're gonna get it, you're gonna taste it, what's between your eyes. Come and take it, come and take it, come and take it, come and take it. No more tears, no more fears, let's have our last beer. Now time to fight, and freedom may never die. Come and take it, you're gonna like it, you're gonna feel like it's paradise. Come and take it, you're gonna get it, you're gonna taste it, what's between your eyes. Come and take it. Come and take it. Come and take it. Come and take it.
You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Gianluca Zanna on Guerrilla.
Luca.
Hello, Neil. This is Luca Zanna, Love, Guns, and Freedom. How are you?
I'm just fine, bro. I've been waiting for your call.
Very good. Finally, we can talk to each other. Normally the radio shows, the regular radio shows, the callers, the listeners call the show. Here on Love, Guns, and Freedom, I call my listeners. So here we are. Finally, we can talk to each other. How's it going?
It's going just fine, man. And I wish I'd have known a long time ago that show was not live, because I know of at least 7 or 8 people in my town that try to call in on a regular basis almost, and they're always pissed off because you won't answer the phone.
I know.
Well, now I know it's recorded.
Yes. The point is this one. The show, I produce the show here in Arizona, Mojave County, and then, of course, I have K-Talks is the station that rebroadcasts the show. I like to go to the station whenever I can, but most of the time I just send the show. I pre-record the show during the week, and then they play it on Sunday, as you know. And but sometimes, of course, I also go there. And also my show it is not just on the radio, but also is on Guerrilla Media Network and also on the internet. So it is mostly, it's pre-recorded show. But what I like, you gave me the idea, by the way, I want to thank you to let me know this, because I said, one thing I was really looking into the show that normally I was missing is more interaction with my listeners. I have a lot of interaction over Facebook, but I like to have also their feedback on the air. And I think, you know what, good idea. From now on, I will start to advertise, let people know that I will call you guys. Anybody wants to be on Love, Guns, and Freedom, and you want to give me your opinion, your feedback, or especially if you disagree. I really like that. Or if you agree, of course, just to be civil.
Well, yeah, but Luca, unless they're listening during the show and they know what you're talking about, how do they know if they want to call in?
That's a good question. I will point it out at K-Talks to let them know that to please, at least when I have record the show, unless I am there live, to let them know that the show is recorded, so do not call. I think it's a good point you're making. I appreciate the feedback. So, excellent. Now, meanwhile, since you're here, finally we can talk to each other. You've been listening to me for a while, I guess, and any feedback, input, or just whatever you want to share with our listeners. You got the floor.
Okay, one thing that I would like you to cover that this was one of those days I tried to call in and I didn't know you were pre-recorded. Mm-hmm. I got into a kind of a disagreement in the KTLX chat room one day with you know who Bob Moore is, don't you?
I think I do.
Bob Moore and Mitch Miller, freebie from the Swans guy. Mm-hmm. We were talking about the legality of automatic weapons in Arizona and how much it costs for the tax stamp and and whether or not you have to renew that every year. I would appreciate it if you would address that on your program.
Yeah.
How much it costs and do you have to renew that every year?
Listen, I want to be honest, I am not a legal expert in automatic weapon. I know that you need a special stamp. And I will, what I'll do, I think the best thing to do, I will bring an expert on it. I can tell you right now my opinion or what I know so far. I know that you need to comply with the federal law that was a part of the Gun Control Act of 1934. That for the Class 3A or this sort of automatic weapons, you must have a $200 stamp, okay, with the federal government. Arizona is one of the few states that we are allowed to have every type of weapon. For example, you could never have an automatic weapon in California, okay, because the state itself forbid it, okay? So now instead here we can. The only thing you must comply with the federal laws. And in this case, you need to apply with the ATF and to have a special $200 stamp. There is some sort of bureaucratic paper. But I have a friend of mine that has several of these automatic weapons in Arizona, and you gave me a good opportunity now. I will bring it I'm going to contact him this week, and I would like to have him on the next show, and he can give us all this information. I think it's going to be much better because he is the one that owns these Class 3A automatic weapons. All I know that in Arizona it is legal. And all you have to do, comply just with the federal $200 stamp and the ATF regulations.
Okay, well, you said I thought it was $300, and I thought it was a one-time thing. But Bob Moore was telling me that you cannot legally own automatic weapons anywhere in Arizona. He said, I go into gun shops all the time. I don't see M16s and AKs hanging on the wall. And I said, just because they stock them doesn't mean they can't get them if you want to buy them.
You're allowed to buy them. You need just to comply with the Federal Gun Control Act of 1934. Okay.
Exactly, and you can buy silencers.
And you can buy silencers. You can buy, for example, shotguns or any type of rifles under 16 inches that you still need the 1934, compliance of this Class 3A. Now, when I find somebody, for example, that they disagree with me, that's fine. Honestly, I like that because I try to reach out to them. My goal is not to be right. I never say that I know everything. I just like to have if people are open to have a civil conversation or just exchange of ideas based on facts, that's where I am. And that's fine, honestly. And I always say, if people disagree with me, that's fine too. Honestly, I don't care. I'm civil if they're civil. Otherwise, they're going to take it back. But Bob Moore, I wish him well. I wish maybe one day we can meet each other. And maybe he realizes that I'm not that bad as he thinks. But that's all I can say. You know, I mean, I'm here. I'm not Republican. I'm not Democrat. I just want to stand for the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. That's my goal.
Italian by birth, American by choice.
Exactly. So anyway, I appreciate your feedback. By the way, you gave me an opportunity to think about it. I need to get an expert. And when I say expert, means people that already are complying with this federal 1934 Gun Control Act. And the special stamp, I have a good Facebook friend that I know he has several of these guns, and he can give us all the details, because coming from his mouth, I think would be much more powerful than just me, or you, or Bob Moore. I mean, let's talk with somebody that is complying with these laws.
Yeah, and I would also appreciate it if you know for sure that you're going to have that show on a Sunday. If you give me a call and let me know.
Yes,
to make sure to listen.
What I'll do is this. Now, this is also something I can do, of course, on my end. Whenever I'm going down to the radio, and by the way, I like to go as much as I can, I will give a shout-out on Facebook so all my friends know that, and they can call in. That's something for sure I can do. And I will talk with Dave Ace on K-Talks 1340 AM and let them know that whenever we are recorded, maybe he can put out a little bit of a message before the show so people know that I don't feel frustrated like I know you've been and other friends being they're trying to call and nobody's answering. So thank you very much, Neil. By the way, where are you from, Neil, exactly? Which part of the county are you from?
I'm in Golden Shores.
Golden Shore, perfect. So you got a good reception down there. Listen, thank you very much for your input, and thank you for listening, okay?
All right, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you, man. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
He's a songwriter, a poet, a rifleman.
I'm not afraid.
And a constitutional activist.
I'm not afraid.
Italian by birth.
I'm not afraid.
American by choice. Gianluca Zanna.
I'm not afraid.
And his new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom. 16 powerful songs on one CD from the heart of a patriot. For download or to order the CD, go to www.lovegunsfreedom.com. That's www.lovegunsfreedom.com. Lyrics for your mind, music for your heart. Gianluca Zanna's new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom.
Here we go. We are back into the studio. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna on K-Talks 1340 AM and on Guerrilla Media Network. Don't forget also you can listen to the show on www.lovegunsfreedom.com. Second hour, it's all about guns. And, we try to talk about different topics here. First of all, we have training. Last week we did pretty much some good dry practice sessions with the presentation, how to introduce the gun into a fight with Jim Leeson from Havasu. And today we have another great guy from Havasu that I really believe has been doing a lot to share the Second Amendment culture in our community, in our county, Mojave County here. And his name is here. Here we go. Sam Scarmardo. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, Luca.
Perfect, Sam. Briefly, you already, you've been on my show a few times. People probably already know about you, even on this radio. But remind briefly what you do for a living, what is your business, so we know a little bit about your background.
Well, I've got Sam Shooter's Emporium 1 and 2, one in Lake Havasu, and number 2 is up in White Hills, Arizona, outside of Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them are gun shops and full-service machine gun rental ranges.
Okay, perfect. So you said that exactly the magic word I was going to talk to you today about is called machine gun. I had several people, listeners, and some they really would like to be more in, learning more about how to, as for a law-abiding citizen, to be able, in the state of Arizona, to acquire and to own a full automatic weapon. And there have been also some other people that are saying that, nobody can, pretty much no civilians are allowed to own a full automatic weapon in Arizona. So I say, I know a little bit, but let me get the pro, somebody like yourself that you do this for a living. I know that you're a licensed dealer for full automatic weapons. So let's talk a little bit about, first of all, what is this Class 3 NFA? If you can explain to me, regular person.
The National Firearms Act of 1934, which is machine guns, silencers, short-barreled rifles, which is a sawed-off rifle, shorter than 16-inch barrels, shorter than 26 inches overall length.
Mm-hmm.
A short-barrel shotgun, which is shorter than 18-inch barrel, 26 inches overall length. And what's described as any other weapon, anything that's not a normal weapon, and like pen guns, certain pen guns that are rifled and that don't fit in the category of a machine gun silencer, SBS or SBR.
Okay.
And in 1934, you could go in your local, I don't think Ace Hardware's around there, but the True Value Hardware, I've seen advertisements for the True Value Hardware, which shows a cowboy on a deck of his, on the front porch of his cabin shooting a Thompson submachine gun at Indians that were attacking him. And up until 1934, you could go in a hardware store and buy a machine gun, but it was illegal to own a 1911 45 automatic because it was restricted to military use only.
Wow, I didn't know that.
That's crazy. I mean, just walk in with $128 and buy yourself a Thompson submachine gun. Now those 21 and 28 Thompson submachine guns, a real one goes between $30,000 to $60,000.
Wow.
There's only 25,000 of them ever made, and a lot of them went to England as Lend-Lease guns, and that's the original Colt. I mean, there were several 100,000 made under contract by Savage and Auto Ordnance for England and for the war effort, but they were just very expensive and very complicated gun to make.
So let's start with the basic information. First of all, for the law-abiding citizen in the state of Arizona, it's legal, following, of course, some regulations, some rules they have to do. We will go into that pretty soon, to own a Class 3 NFA type of gun. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
there's no problem at all. There's 38 states where you can own machine gun and silencers. There's a couple states like Washington you can own machine guns, but you can't own silencers, and a couple other states that have slightly archaic rules regarding NFA weapons. And NFA was, as I say, the National Firearms Act of 1934. At that point in time, anything that fit into the category of an NFA weapon had a $200 excise tax transfer stamp, which is chicken feed anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But Congress, thank you them, they finally did something good, or failed to do something that took away a right. They've never increased the cost of it, so now it's chicken feed. Back in 1934, $200 was a lot of money when you were paying $128 for a new Thompson.
Wow.
And, basically you have to fill out what is called a Form 4, which is 2 copies of that with your photograph on the back, attached fingerprint card, a certification that you're a U.S. citizen, because you can't sell automatic weapons to non-U.S. citizens. That fits under the War Powers Act, amongst half a dozen other rules and regulations. Then we have to take it to your CLEO, which is Chief Law Enforcement Officer of the area here in town. It would be like
the sheriff, probably.
Police Chief Doyle. If you're in the county like where you live, you take it up to the sheriff's office. They sign off and testify that they have no issue with you owning it. Like Parker has some problems down there. It's pretty hard to get a police chief to sign on it there.
Wow.
So you generally have to go to the county sheriff to do it.
So,
it's
Sam,
very few locales.
This is not more a right. This is not more right. This has become a privilege. That's the fact. Because
it's a privilege. Yeah, it's not a right. It's a privilege.
Yeah, because as much as I understand the state, still our state of Arizona, we are okay. Because many states like California, you cannot have it. Period. But
it's the usual suspects.
Yeah.
Massachusetts, New York, California. Illinois, those are the states that you can be a Class 3 dealer, which is IMMX, a Class 2 manufacturer dealer, and a Class 7, Class 72. We've got all kinds of licenses, a whole wealth of licenses behind me here. And I can also manufacture machine guns and silencers, which we do, on a limited basis. We can manufacture any firearm, actually. We've got a full machine shop here.
Wow. So now let's say for a regular person like myself, I have no problem with the justice. I am completely clean criminal record. If I want to buy, let's say, for example, depends how much money I have, because we're talking about things that if I want to get something like, can I get a brand new machine gun? First of all, no, I guess, right?
Well, you can't get anything manufactured after May of 1986.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, as far as machine gun goes, silencers, SBSs, SBRs, any other weapons you can still get and make. But the machine guns themselves became restricted. They're completely fully transferable up until 1968, at which point between 1968 and May of 1986, It's what's considered a pre-sample gun. It could be a dealer's sample, and if you give your license up, you get one transfer into your own name.
So, for example, right now you could not manufacture for me a brand new, let's say, I don't know.
We use them for the ones that I can manufacture, and they're fairly inexpensive. I mean, we can sell to an agency for about $800. We can sell a brand new M16s, M4s, and brand new full auto Rugers. The KC 556. We can sell them for about $650.
Wow.
They're not terribly expensive. If they were fully transferable, you're talking $22,000 and about $14,000.
Wow.
On the older gun, if you want an M16 or an AK-47, you're looking at $20,000 generally.
Oh my gosh.
If you want some of the big belt feds like a 50 or an M60 or 35, 40,000, Madu's 50, M2 heavy barrel, 50 cal, they're fully transferable. You're looking at, $40,000, $50,000. And when you get into the really collectible stuff, the early German machine guns and the Thompsons generally are some of the most expensive machine guns. And those are, like I said, they start at $35,000 as a clunker, and you can get all the way up to, I've seen them go for $110,000, but they were something unique,
So this is the way.
A Bonnie and Clyde machine gun or something like that, or, a famous criminal machine gun.
Sam, this is the way pretty much the government is curtailing the right to own a full automatic weapon, because the point is the average man, the working man, he cannot have access to such a type of budgets, because the problem is, let me see if I got it right. After 1986, you cannot buy anything newer, so the market is drying out. There is no more productivity. And
there's X amount. There's a finite number of guns, and the population has increased since 1934 by 220 million people, more now than there was in 1934.
That's exactly.
In the United States, plus we've got another 2 states, and one of them being a very gun-friendly state and a machine gun state, Hawaii not being a machine gun state. Anything after May of 1986 is what's called a post-sample, and that's what a lot of our guns, I said, anything I manufacture in the way of a machine gun right now is transferable only to law enforcement, military, and another Title II manufacturers such as myself.
Gotcha. So as a regular schmuck myself, unless I have at least $15,000, $20,000, pretty much all I can get is a nice photo of a full automatic weapon, I guess, correct?
Yeah, I mean, the low end was going to be something like a MAC-10, maybe $6,000, or maybe the Uzis. There were so many of them that were early and transferable that they're $10,000.
Wow.
You're not going to get anything much cheaper than that.
Yeah,
I mean,
I understand.
The FNCs and FALs, they're $10,000-$12,000.
Yeah. Anyway,
we've got half a dozen machine guns for sale in the store right now, all pre-1968 guns, fully transferable.
What do you have? Give me a couple of good deals for the week. Come on, something maybe our listener may start to salivating a little bit. What do you have? Something, the best deal you got out there with my full automatic?
Well, we've got a Steyr, which is select fire, 223. It's the, it's a green plastic bullpup stock, meaning that the magazine is it's a very short gun.
Yeah.
Select fire, about 1,000 rounds a minute. Has 25, 30, and 42 round magazines, changeable barrels, so you can go anywhere between an 11-inch NFA barrel, which in and of itself is an NFA transfer, and then a 16, a 20, and a 24 light machine gun barrel. And it's just there's a lever by the front of the receiver. You flip it over and pop the barrels right out and change them back in again.
I understand. So it's how much for that?
About $19,000.
Okay, price of it.
And it comes with a lot of magazines, and what's really unique is it comes with the original packing box.
Wow.
And original targets and instruction book in the whole yard. There's probably a little wiggle room in that. There almost always is when you've got something that's high figures.
Yes. Anyway, just to let people know, we're talking about with Sam Scarmardo, is the owner of Sam Shooter's Emporium in Lake Havasu, Arizona, and we're talking about this urban myth that the Class 3 NFA, this sort of automatic guns, and also not just automatics. Also, we're talking about short barrel. For example, for a shotgun under 18 inches, and all you have to do. I would like to remind the people, because these are serious laws. Believe it or not, 1 inch less or half inch less in a barrel.
Oh yeah, you're going to prison.
5 years? I mean, it's a felony. It's a huge deal, right?
big felony, 10 years in prison, $100,000 fine minimum.
I mean, they can really get you bad. So it's very important to know. And I'm not saying that for me, this is honestly was the first real gun control. And I don't care if I can afford or not. I think it's the right of every American, law-abiding citizen American, to have the same type of quality of guns that our military has. This is my personal opinion, of course. And I think 1934 was the first strike, the first dagger in the heart of this republic, trying to pass this gun control law that they did, by the way, always, in name of security and safety, because, the mafia, the mob did some shooting with that. That doesn't mean anything. Now the fact we know that all they need to get you with, first of all, we cannot afford this. And they start always, try to mix names. When the anti-gun people, like in Washington, they try to call this assault weapon legislation. They pretty much, we don't have any assault weapon. We have regular semi-automatic rifles. If we want to go
we have an assault-type weapon is what
exactly.
it is, basically. But Josh Sugarman from
exactly.
Handgun Control was the one who originally called them assault weapon. And the first assault weapon was the... what do they call it? An SD? It had several names. MP44,
the German one?
SPG45. The German one with the short cartridge, high capacity magazine, high elevated sighting plane, so that there's very little recoil or rise when you recoil. And it was a Sturmgewehr, which the Germans made in World War II, and which the AK-47 that the Russians copied is pretty much a blatant copy of the Sturmgewehr or MP44 that the Germans invented.
Exactly. And so that's
that's to translate. Sturmgewehr is assault rifle.
Exactly, for the stormtroopers. That's pretty much what they were.
Yeah,
and people must understand.
They're fine weapons. Everything the Germans made in World War II was a fine weapon. Unfortunately, they over-engineered them and made too many at one time, and the Germans lost the war because they couldn't maintain a supply train of what they needed.
Thankfully they lost. Anyway, but my point is this one, for the crowd that we are trying to learn, I know a little bit, but always something new to learn. The fact is this assault weapon myth, first of all, the true assault weapon law, legislation, or gun, let's say, control, was exactly the one. We already have one. It's the one from the NFA from 1934, where pretty much this selective fire.
It gets down to the politicians want to outlaw an ugly gun.
Exactly.
That's what it is, because it's got a pistol grip and a muzzle, flash hider, and they think it's a flash hider so nobody can see your flash. That's what the politicians think, and it's actually so it doesn't flash blind the shooter.
Yeah.
And because they've got a magazine that's detachable and carries we've got M16 magazines that carry 100 rounds.
Now, a little bit more probably affordable, because we know that full automatic weapon, we understand, at least you made me pretty much clear that the market is dry, there are limited pieces out there, and that's why, unless you are law enforcement, for the rest of us regular slaves, pretty much we cannot have a full auto unless we spend maybe $15,000 or $20,000. But
and then there's a $200 transfer tax, excise tax.
Yes.
It's about 2 inches by 1.5 inches, purple, usually purple with the serial number of the gun written across it, and extensive paperwork. And whenever you move, they have to know within X amount of days that you've moved. And if you're leaving it for repair someplace, it has to be the ATF needs to know where it's at any given time in case which always creeped me out a little bit. But, a lot of people never wanted to get into the Class 3 stuff because they said, well, the BATF can come to your house anytime, day or night, knock on your door and want to see the gun. Well, I've had literally probably 1,000 Class 3 weapons in my entire life, and other than the annual checkup, which they're more interested in the 4473 and the Title I weapon than they are in our Class 3 stuff. They check our Class 3 stuff that generally takes an hour. A regular compliance check generally takes a week. It's once a year. And the NFA aspect of it is insignificant. And when I was just a private citizen owning machine guns, they never bothered me. I never had a checkup or anybody knock on a door to look at the gun. And besides that, they have to make an appointment.
Yeah.
And they have to have a reasonable opportunity to comply.
But they still have that type of right, because there is a contract pretty much. When you apply. So that's important to know. They may not use it, but on paper you comply with the federal rules, federal laws. That, by the way, this is not more about the state of Arizona. Even, of course, for the state of Arizona, you wouldn't need anything, but we are complying here with federal.
You have to comply with all rules,
yes,
regardless of what the jurisdiction is. State, federal, county, city, you have to be in compliance with all of them.
Exactly. And in this case, we're talking about federal laws. That's the NFA is a federal law. That's good. Okay, good. Now, something that would be maybe a little more affordable for the rest of us. And, I've been thinking about it. I always like the idea that I can shoot without ear protection, at least especially if I have to do for safety in a closed environment, in an emergency situation. This silencer, even those, they go under the Class 3, correct?
Yeah, they're Class 3, and it's just the same form you fill out, all the same procedure. It has to be approved by your local law enforcement, the CLEO, the chief law enforcement officer for your jurisdiction. And here, it could be Sheriff, Chief Dan Doyle, or Sheriff, the sheriff, or the state police. Just as long as you generally start at the lowest echelon and work up if your police chief won't sign it. And up until about 16 years ago, the police chief here would not sign Class 3 Form 4s. So you had to go to Tom Sheehan and the sheriff's office.
This is exactly the point. This is when rights become privileges, like in many states or many parts of the world. And this is exactly, yes, we still have the opportunity, the privilege to have a Class 3, if you can afford it, of course. But the problem is that become a privilege that you got to go beg for your local law enforcement. Instead, when a right is a right, like, for example, the right to keep and bear arms, for the regular weapons that they do not belong under the Class 3 NFA, that's called a right. We don't even know in Arizona the beautiful thing, even to conceal, we don't need anymore a permit. Of course, we always invite to look into the permit. CCW, in my opinion, is good to have, give you extra advantages, and also if you go across state lines, but that's another story. Now, Molly, how much would cost a decent silencer, for example, for a 45 like a 1911?
Well, anywhere between $600 and $1,500, depending on name, brand, quality of suppressor, sound suppressor, and they actually are silent. Very few, 22 and 45 ACP are about the only two that are genuinely, they can generally pretty close come to being completely silent, because while they kill the bang, it doesn't kill the crack of the sonic boom.
Yes.
If it's supersonic ammunition, you're still going to get the crack as it flies downrange. The bullet flies downrange. But 22, we carry subsonic ammo for 22, 9mm, 45, and 308. Actually,
good.
That's big. Generally consists of a great big heavy bullet in that caliber with enough of a powder charge to make the gun function. And you can use a great big heavy bullet, and the recoil causes the gun to function. Some of them function from gas, but some of them function from the actual recoil. And it's just mass time velocity squared is the formula on it to calculate recoil on a firearm.
Good. Okay, very good. At least something affordable. If people want to look into it, there are two calibers that would be more. Let's say
yeah. We have them from 22 all the way up to 50 BMG.
So
we've got a silencer for a 50 BMG, which is about almost 2.5 feet long and 6 inches in diameter. We have silencer for shotguns. I don't think I've ever sold one, but we have one on our inventory in our plan book. That we can make one up for a 12-gauge shotgun, which is again about 3 foot long and 6 inches in diameter, and extremely effective.
Wow! How much would go that one? Basically,
about $1,200-$1,500, depending.
That would be
depending on the material, we're aluminum or titanium. Or
in the closed environment would be anyway enough to, in case of an emergency, that could protect your hearing. Correct? I mean, wouldn't be so devastating.
Oh yeah, I mean, even with the 50 BMG, you no longer need hearing protection.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
Because if you're getting the crack, but it's very easy to attenuate the boom.
Oh, wow.
Of the cartridge firing. It's the sonic crack, which is generally far beyond where it's going to affect your hearing anyway. But one of the rental guns that we have has got a silencer on it of the 50 BMG, and you don't even need hearing protection. We insist that you wear it, but you don't have to.
Got it. So pretty much your average customers, correct me if I'm wrong, especially for the full automatic Class 3 NFA, is pretty much could be mostly law enforcement, and maybe sometimes somebody that people as really affluent people.
A lot of hobbyists like it, and generally we fill out the Form 4 we put on there for hearing protection.
Yeah. But
it's the reason that they get a silencer.
Yeah.
And in 1968 they changed. That's when it had to be at that point in time a law enforcement or military. But there were some exclusions to that. 1986 is when they entirely removed that. But in 1968 you had the Gun Control Act of '68, and then we had the NFA Act again of 1986, and that's pretty much where it outlawed new ownership of machine guns. But you can still buy silencers, and I would say it's taken, a big problem has been for the last couple of years, it's taken up to 2 years, year and a half, 2 years, 14 months to clear any kind of a Form 4. It's taken 6 months to clear a Form 3, where a couple of years ago it was 3 weeks to clear a Form 3 and maybe 10 weeks, 12 weeks to clear a Form 4. Now, I was at a meeting with the BATFE in first week of December, and they've hired like 140% of what their existing number is of new examiners. They're working 2 examiners over the shoulder of every seasoned inspector here, a compliance inspector. So they promised us by the end of the first quarter it'd be 90 days, and by June 30th that it would be less than 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks to clear a Form 4, because they have at the 1st of December they had 49,000 some odd Form 4s in backlog, and that doesn't count Forms 1, 2, 3, and 5.
Wow.
Which are other uses, but it's easy to get a silencer. We have probably 40 or 50 in stock for sale. We've got maybe a dozen, maybe altogether between the 2 stores, probably a dozen machine guns for sale.
Wow, that's a lot of it.
About the cheapest one's about $10,000. $10,000. Much cheaper than that.
All right, at least somebody can make choices.
As I say, it's a finite number and an ever-expanding number of people who want them, so it's going to cause the prices to go up.
It could be an investment, in the near future, when pretty much, and question, when the part breaks, for example, let's say, the most affordable thing you said could be like a Mac 10 or something like that. If there is a part, like everything breaks, you need to fix things,
Sure.
How does it work? Because, every time you buy some sort of a spare part for a full automatic weapon, do I need to go through?
We have probably in excess of 4,000 pounds of spare parts, cut-up guns that we take parts out of. And, Legal Ag can weld a gun back together that's been cut up and file a Form 2 on it.
Yeah, so technically all it needs to be the receiver with the number, and then we can always...
the receiver with the numbers, the gun, the rest of the stuff is just parts. And parts, like the commercial said.
Exactly. So you can always keep it nice and, of course, keep the investment alive. Good. Now, something else, I know that talking about full automatic weapons, you had another business that, was very interesting. I wanted to stop by many times. The one on the way to Las Vegas. Are you still open there after the situation?
Yeah.
So,
we're open 7 days a week.
Okay. Our prayers, my prayers was with the family of the instructor that unfortunately got killed, and I hope things get clear there. Any updates can you tell us about the situation that happened in August with the instructor that was killed by accident by the Uzi? Anything you can tell us about?
I can't really enter advice of counsel. Okay. We can't talk about it.
I understand. I pray anyway for the family. We pray for the family of both families, of course, of the instructor, and of course also of the little kid that, we hope everything went good. Good. Listen, I really appreciate, this is important because I think it's important, first of all, to know the laws. We try here to share some information. And more important, to debunk this myth, because people say, now you can buy a machine gun and start to play around. But no, you cannot buy legally a machine gun unless you have to go through a process. First of all, you must have the cash.
Right.
That's not everybody can do it. And, and right now, let's be honest, how many people really ever committed a crime, law-abiding citizen, went crazy with a full out? I never heard anybody.
Just one.
Who was this one?
By the owner, by the actual person who owned it, there was only ever been one crime committed with a registered full automatic weapon in possession of the person. I mean, there's been stolen ones.
Yeah, when was that?
They've been broken and stolen, and there's been crimes committed, but it was a divorce issue in San Francisco, and one attorney took his Mac 10 and killed his soon-to-be ex-wife and her attorney and himself and several other people, and that was it, and that was... My God, it's got to be 45 years ago.
Yeah, I could have done even with a rock at that point. But my point is this, machine gun, assault weapons already be over-legislated so much that the average person cannot even have access really so easily.
Because the government fears its people.
Exactly.
And you always have, my rule of thumb is always fear the government that fears its people.
Exactly. List, I really appreciate you and thank you for your activism. I know that also you're very involved in many issues when it comes down to, the basic foundation of the Republic. I had you on the show many times. There are many things we agree. Sometimes we don't agree on some issue, but you always have been a great open mind and activist for our Republic, and I really appreciate you. Say one more time, please, your website or address, how people can contact you in case they want to come and visit you.
www.samsguns.com.
Very good. Thank you, Sam Scarmardo. I really appreciate it.
Have you ever met someone on an online dating site and thought, wow, this guy is perfect for me, or she is simply amazing, only to find out they were hiding a deep, dark secret. They plan to vote for Hillary. FreedomLovers.us was created for singles who want to exchange ideas and a love for freedom. People who are looking for solutions to create and defend freedom in the real world, and at the same time getting that once-in-a-lifetime chance to find their true soulmate. Whether you are interested in meeting your soulmate, making new friends, networking, or hanging out with that like-minded liberty lover, visit freedomlovers.us. It's the first free dating site and community. So patriots, don't waste your time with other dating sites. freedomlovers.us is the place where like-minded singles really
Here we go.
meet.
We are back. This is the second hour. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna. This hour is about guns, and today I wanted to really touch this specific topic of Class 3 NFA. It means for a law-abiding citizen in the state of Arizona, what takes to pretty much being able, legally, lawfully, to have some sort of specific weapons, like, for example, full automatic weapons or silencer. Or anyway, we talked before just a few minutes ago with Sam Scarmardo from Sam Shooter Emporium, these great gun stores that they also are licensed Class 3 dealers, where you can buy these full automatic weapons. Now, I would like to have a perspective of a real person, somebody like, me, just a regular guy, not law enforcement, and, law enforcement, my fault, and just a regular person that with our hard-earned money, we try to get what normally law enforcement only can get for a really good price. We had to pay much more. I have here with me my friend that I would like just to probably, just say the first name, Ray. I don't want to disclose the last name unless he wants to. Ray, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Ray. We want to leave it like that. Ray, for privacy would be enough, since we're talking about...
That'll work just fine.
Perfect. Ray, you're a friend of mine, Facebook. We met together also in person. We went to shoot at the range. And I'm glad, we have a lot of things we agree. Maybe sometimes we disagree, but we are on the most, I'm so pleased to be my friend and my fellow Americans, because I really believe we have a lot of things in common when it comes to the basic foundation of this republic. And I'm really happy that I met you and I'm in touch with you.
Oh, definitely.
Thank you. So listen, I wanted to ask you today pretty much one thing, Tell me a little bit. First of all, you're a regular guy. You're not law enforcement. You are just a working guy like myself. So, correct?
Correct.
So, and
yes.
I heard that you are really into these Class 3 weapons, or at least seems like you have some of them, correct?
Yes, I've gone through about 8 transfers so far.
Wow. I was learning from Mr. Scarmardo, Sam Scarmardo, that first of all, unfortunately, now it is not just about a $200 tax stamp, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm learning all this stuff, that, the original $200 since the beginning of this 1934 pretty much gun control law the Congress passed at the time. It is also about the fact that they limited the quantities of the guns that can be pretty much manufactured and sold to the civilians market. So we're only talking about a limited quantity of full automatic weapons on the market for us civilians, and they were before 1986, if I'm correct?
That is correct.
Perfect. So it's kind of expensive. I mean, Mr. Scarmardo was telling me that the cheapest thing I could get on his shop, and this is pretty much their market price. I'm not that familiar, but I heard pretty much similar things. At least $10,000 if I want to get some sort of a full-out submachine gun, like maybe, I don't know, a Uzi or something like that. So it's not exactly affordable. What do you think? I mean, first of all, what do you have? Something, what do you got? Something...
Alrighty, I've purchased only one a machine gun, but the others are short-barreled weapons and suppressors. But as far as machine guns go, the cheapest price lately I've seen is usually like an M11 9mm, and those will probably go for around $3,500 to $4,000, and that's pretty much the bottom end of transferable machine guns.
Mm. So these are like sort of like looks like Uzi, like a Uzi style.
Yes, yeah. They're rather compact 9mm basically just a squirt gun.
Yeah, but
it waste 9mm ammo.
Yeah, I mean, my opinion, on this one, is very simple. I believe that everything after the Second Amendment, Bill of Rights, everything is unconstitutional. 1934 was the first, one of the first unconstitutional, really, pieces of legislations because, we used to be able before 1934 to buy every type of basic guns or rifle, full auto. It doesn't matter. The Second Amendment doesn't specify the right of to keep and bear arms, which type of arms. It's supposed to be the same type of level of firepower that our soldiers could have, because at the end of the day, the purpose of the Second Amendment, it is to be the last line of defense against a corrupt government. So we already disadvantaged there, but that's another story. Now, for a regular guy, probably not everybody needs a full auto, but I would love, just because. And also I believe there are some tactical scenario that could be good to have. If you train, of course, if you don't just waste the ammo, have a full auto, at least a selective fire weapon. I mean, what do you think about that? What is the purpose, as a tactical point of view?
Well, purpose-wise, of course, like you, I believe there needs to be no official reason. It's just, do you want it? Is it legal? That should be it. But, most people own the lower end transferable machine guns for recreation.
Yeah, it's recreation.
But, of course, there's a tactical utility for them. But, of course, that's not really why I bought one. I bought one because I just wanted to see if it was something I could get into. I ended up wasting more ammo than I really needed. And, it was a select fire weapon, and I found that I kept it on semi most of the time anyway.
So how many rounds per minute can you afford? Your weapon, for example, how many rounds per minute cycles? What do you got?
Mine was an M11 9mm, which is a rather high cyclic rate.
Mm-hmm.
The upper end is usually around 1,800 rounds per minute, which is like it's a pretty fast buzz. But you can get rate reducers for that. You can there's various tricks you can do to slow it down to anywhere between 600 and 800. Rounds per minute, which is far more manageable.
Yeah. And question, is there a selective fire? Can you also go semi-auto with this specific weapon you just said?
Oh yes, definitely. So I had it on semi most of the time anyway.
Good. I would love, don't get me wrong, I think it's the right of every law-abiding American to own a full automatic weapon without any type of government, imposition, because it become a privilege. I was learning that, you need to go through the sheriff of the highest law enforcement in your town, like the chief of police or whatever. He may say no. Then of course you gotta pay this extra fee. No, it's become like at the time of the kings, where pretty much, the lords tell you if your slave can have or not the sword to defend your family. And people can say, you don't need this to defend your family. First of all, it is not just about defending my family from criminals. Probably I would even need a rifle. I can do that with a 2x4. I want it because it's my right. Because in the Second Amendment rights, if we believe that it's an individual right, and if we want to look at the historical moment when it was written, people can say, you deserve like a black powder musket. Wait a second. That probably at the time was the M16 of the time. But regardless of all this, I wish, I would love to have it, regardless now that it's kind of, too expensive, in my opinion, for what comport to have all this extra. But let's look also at this other mythology out there. Somebody's been saying that is asserting that you need to pay each year, renew this $200 tax stamp from the federal government. I say no, but as I said, I would like to ask somebody that is really doing it like yourself. So what do you think about this mythology going out there? That people must pay every year.
There's a lot of that, going around about, a yearly license fee, reduced Fourth Amendment rights, saying the ATF can, barge into your house at any moment in time. That's all BS. You still have your what's left of your Fourth Amendment rights, I should say. But you're not reducing it by participating in the NFA process.
I was listening to Mr. Scarmardo just before you. He was saying that technically, yes, there never been any type of cases like the ATF just shows up at your door, but technically, they can pretty much ask you you must show them where is the weapon. And for example, if the weapon is in the shop for repairing, sometimes you must notify. I mean, there is some sort of extra things that you must comply. It's like almost you go into an agreement, some sort of a contract when you want to comply with this NFA 1934 Act. What do you know? Is it true?
Well, on the bottom of the Form 4,
yes,
or on the Form 1, if you're manufacturing your own short-barreled weapon,
mm-hmm.
On the bottom of the form, it states in small print, basically all of the conditions,
mm-hmm.
and the only notable one for private owners, not for special occupational taxpayers, which are the dealers,
mm-hmm.
NFA dealers. But as far as the private person, filling out a Form 4, the only real requirement is that you notify them of when you move.
When you move. So let's say you go to another county or to another state. Eventually, that of course must comply with the state law, because in some states, regardless that this is a federal law, in some states they do not allow such type of weapons. Like for example, California. Correct me if I'm wrong, right?
Yeah, that's correct. And if you go out of state, temporarily, like going to a shoot that's
mm-hmm.
across state lines,
yeah,
you have to fill out another form, which I believe, if I'm wrong, is 5320-1, I think.
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure, but that's for taking machine guns and short-barrel rifles and short-barrel shotguns across state lines.
So, now, of course, we're talking just for the state of Arizona, and, of course, this is not any type of legal advice. If you have any question, get your lawyer or go to your NFA dealer and talk to them, okay? This is just about an honest conversation about, first of all, to try to understand how you can get, if you want to, if you can afford a type of Class 3 weapon, or even type of accessories. Like we were talking about the silencer. I mean, honestly, I would like to have silencers, especially in the house, hold environment. I always have my headset close to my handgun, especially at night. But it would be nice to be able to have, silencer for your handgun in case there is an emergency. You don't need to stress about looking for your headset. Do you have a silencer, right? Or more than one?
Yes. I have quite a few of those.
What do you have? What is your favorite that you really enjoy the most?
Well, starting on the bottom end, 22 long rifle,
mm-hmm.
Two 9mm, one for pistol, one for submachine gun, and then a 223 suppressor and a 308 suppressor.
Wow, I like the 308. Sounds good.
So with various adapters, I basically got everything covered.
Wow. Yeah, one thing I tell you, if I would be writing right now my Christmas list and I didn't have to go through all this paperwork of federal laws and 1934, because, I made a choice, probably at the time, sometimes I could have afforded something, but it is my choice right now that as much as I would like to have one, I don't want to comply and put myself in the situation to ask for a permit that I think could be pretty much doable, but still I don't want to go there. And right now, of course, I don't have probably the money that after this Obamacare that's destroying us, to find $5,000 for a freaking little 9mm submachine gun, I find it kind of too much. But regardless, if I could be living still in the America pre-1934, and I wish almost with a time machine I was there, with all the problems, don't get me wrong, nothing is perfect, but at least I didn't have to mess around with this legislation. By my opinion, it's unconstitutional. This is my shopping list, what I would like to have. First of all, I like something that could be, I'm still buying for my own ammo, okay? So I don't have the government tax dollar paying for how many minutes of thousands of rounds per second, okay? So I would like to have a 9mm. That would be my submachine gun compact, like a Uzi. And can you put on a Uzi like a suppressor, sound suppressor? What do you think?
Definitely. It's a very worthwhile accessory for these smaller submachine guns.
Yeah.
Not only does it make them more controllable,
mm-hmm.
it reduces your signature to whomever is posing a threat to you. It just makes handling so much nicer.
Yeah. I like the Uzi. I've seen it in action many times. I go to train at front site. They have a class for Uzi and full auto, and I think it's a great, simple, at least, I'm not an expert, as I said, but if I could think of something I had to pay for with my own money, I'm talking about money before 1934, where a Uzi or even didn't exist at the time, of course. This is created lately in the state of Israel. But the point is, any type of full automatic weapon was pretty much like the price of a tool at a hardware store, okay? I mean, that was a beautiful thing. But, I would like to have a 9mm submachine gun with a nice compressor and, of course, training. And I think there is always a tactical use for anything. Like you have a hammer, the specific hammer for some specific nails. I think there is a gun for every situation. And, and regardless, I think it would be a lot of fun, honestly. Yeah, I said something that we should always have the right to enjoy such excitement, But anyway, and when do you go shooting? Do you got any type of attention at the range? I mean, do you go to shoot this type of weapon at the range, your submachine gun?
I typically like to go out on my own property because, possessing NFA weapons leads to a certain gawking factor. If you go to a public range or a public shooting area, you have all kinds of people walking up, and it makes the shooting experience much less enjoyable if you have people gawking or people asking
questions,
too many questions. Or,
I agree.
Or they even offer their legal advice, like, "Oh, those are illegal," and
leave me alone.
You just don't want to.
Yes.
Go through all that.
Yes. And it's sad because there are always the idiot out there that doesn't have anything to do in his or her life, and they like to be the goody-goody and calling probably the sheriff.
Oh, that too, definitely.
Okay? And I hate this type of bastards, seriously, and I can say this out loud on the radio show. You are a piece of crap, and I tell you should have a life before you start to pretty much put yourself in somebody else's life, especially when there is no threat to anybody. You're minding your business, you're shooting your gun, mind your business, and let us alone. Okay, leave us alone.
Yeah.
I
should add, that's another great application for, having a suppressor, is especially, if you have a transferable machine gun, if it's not suppressed, it attracts a lot of attention. If you have a suppressor, it makes shooting that much more enjoyable because you don't have the sound echoing off every canyon wall and attracting people to law enforcement.
There was a situation a few years ago. I'm trying to remember now exactly the details. Maybe not super accurate, but it was a National Guard guy, or at least was a veteran. Okay, and he was at the range. He was shooting his AR-15, and I think it was an Olympic firearm. Maybe you heard about the case. And it was a semi-auto regular AR-15. And what happened, this rifle had a malfunction, okay, from the factory. There was any type of modification, so much that the factory admitted it. Yes, it's our fault, okay? And so this rifle started to go on full auto at the range. One of these goody-goody bastards that had nothing better to do called the law enforcement, and pretty much this guy gets in trouble because he gets charged to have to own and shoot a rifle in full auto, pretty much violating this 1934, gun control law. Guess what? Regardless the evidence of there was an innocent mistake, that the rifle was faulty from the factory, this guy spent time in jail, and it's a serious matter. I mean, he got a felony, and he had to spend thousands of dollars to try to defend himself, and he still failed. Are you aware of that, this case? It was a few years ago, maybe 6-7 years ago. I remember that it was on AR-15.
It's not really unusual, for that to happen, and it's indeed tragic because in essence it's over a $200 tax issue, which is that just adds to the tragedy. We have politicians.
Yeah, still in millions and trillions. Exactly.
Yeah, and then they're using this kind of force and prosecuting felony charges against people over a $200 issue.
Yeah, but this is the point,
really stupid.
They can tell you now, for example, they're owning like a piece of plastic that can hold more than 8 rounds or 7 rounds, depends the way they wake up in which state, California, or could be 10 rounds, or New York, whatever. you, from a law-abiding, good, decent person, you become a felon and pretty much enemy of the state, just because you own a piece of plastic or metal that can hold more than a limit of rounds they decide. So pretty much now, the Hell's Gate is open. And when they tell you that you must jump, because they decide who is good or who is bad according to their, how many times they can vote you out of our rights. Listen, Ray, I really appreciate your feedback and input, and I hope to see you pretty soon at the range. And maybe, who knows, maybe one time you can invite me to show me your beautiful collection of interesting NFA pieces.
Sure thing.
I would love that, okay? So thank you very much. And please listen to the show and give us feedback, okay? Thank you.
Thank you much.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you. Hey, this was Ray, and you're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom on K-Talks 1340 AM. Be ready for the final hour. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to talk about love and recipes. Don't go away.
We're not afraid. You work for us. We're not your slaves. Don't tread on us. You cross the line. Soon you will pay for all your crimes. Don't tread on us. We're not afraid. You work for us. We're not your slaves. Don't tread on us. You cross the line. Soon you will pay for all your crimes. After a long train of abuses and usurpation, now we've lost our patience. You're trying to kill our constitution, to kill our pride. Now the wood is dry. Don't tread on us. We're not afraid. You work for us. We're not your slaves. Don't tread on us. You cross the line.
La da 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 da. Here we are, final hour. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna on the air on K-Talks 1340 AM, on Guerrilla Media Network, of course, on lovegunsfreedom.com. This is the hour that pretty much I relax the most because, the first 2 hours I talk about something pretty serious stuff. We had mark-koernke, coming New World Order, police state, tyranny, second hour guns, of course, Second Amendment, and more. And then they always say, we need to rest. We need to rest to be able to fight another day. I don't want just to rest. I want to enjoy life. Because I really believe at the end, as I said many times, the best revenge against our enemies, these enemies of humanity, they want us in bondage, slaves, miserable, always worried. I really believe that the best revenge against these bastards is to live well. It doesn't take much to live well. I'm trying to do this in this hour. That sometimes, we lose pretty much the cognition of understanding of the simple things of life. Happiness, after all, it is not just an abstract concept. Unfortunately, we make it abstract. We always think, one day I'll be happy. Or one day I will have a retirement. One day I have a bigger home. One day I will have a bigger car. One day. You know what? Let's do it now. You can be happy right now, wherever you are. Doesn't matter. And you don't need to be wealthy or rich or anything like that. First of all, you need to be, I would say, one thing I would suggest you, and it's not a suggestion, it is a fact. Try to be healthy. If you already have health, you should be so happy. Stay away from doctors, these bloodsuckers, always trying to rape you and cut you or try to do something out of you. Guess what? If you don't need a doctor, you're already halfway game. There is different ways to be healthy. I believe that, first of all, yeah, some of your DNA may be truth, but there is also a lifestyle. I'm not saying that you must live like a monk or some sort of a saint, but let's put it this way. You are what you eat. That's for sure. And I'm not even telling you what to eat, but I'm telling you something. If you eat the garbage out of the fast food out there and all this processed food, for sure it's not going to help you. Okay? So, I'm not saying that my pasta and wine diet is the perfect solution, but let me tell you, at least it's tasty, and I'm doing pretty well so far. Anyway, and my grandfather died pretty old. Now, today we will talk about, first of all, different alternative food in this hour. Normally I cook pasta or, my Italian recipes. Today I want to do something a little different. It is about sprouting, I pretty much understand that many of us, or many of you, when you want to eat some vegetables, you have to go to your produce store, to your little Safeway or whatever it is. Problem is, first of all, not always you can find organic vegetables. And even if you find them, sometimes they are pretty expensive. And maybe sometimes you don't even want to go there. Or maybe you want to know what you're eating. Because even when you eat vegetables that they're organic, don't think that they're completely, completely perfect. Because, let me tell you, be sure that you wash them correctly, and sometimes you don't even know what type of water is being given to these organic vegetables, okay? I mean, I would never eat any vegetable coming from Mexico, sorry. And I'm not trying to be racist or anything bad. It's been proven scientifically, statistically, that most of the cases that we had with salmonella or other diseases, unfortunately, were tomatoes or vegetables coming from Mexico. And the problem, why? Because many times, unfortunately, the water that is being given, it's sewer water. The hands who pick this freaking vegetable, unfortunately, they probably touched their butt before they went to touch the vegetables. And don't get me wrong, it can happen also in the U.S., okay? That's why I say, why not to find a way you can have, especially winter time, when pretty much, it's cold and it's hard to find vegetables that they are cold resistant, even if you want to grow it yourself. But, of course, if you have a greenhouse, it may be easier. But the best way, the superfood, something that I learned a few years ago, and I really, really enjoyed, it's called sprout, or sprouting. And by the way, you don't need to be bored when you eat sprouts. You don't think like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get stuck with this alfalfa sprout. That's all I'm going to get. No. There's so many seeds that you can sprout. And what I like about the sprouting system, that you pretty much have the taste, the flavoring of each different seed. It's like almost you eating that particular vegetable. For example, if I sprout garlic, I'm going to have a taste of garlic. If I'm sprouting broccoli, it tastes like broccoli. And it is there are a lot of great benefits, let's put it this way. First of all, why we should sprout, or at least learn how to sprout. First of all, you can grow sprouts yourself in the winter, wherever you are, even if you live in the North Pole, at the North Pole. You can get pretty much the most incredible nutrition without spending almost any money. Seriously, it's so affordable. You save a lot of money. If you have a family, especially now with this economy, you should, my opinion, I don't want to use the word must, because you do what you want. At the end of the day, you're free to do what you want, but you should learn how to sprout. You save money. First of all, then also you have, in case of an emergency, for people that they call preppers, I just say being prepared, but, now they call us preppers just because we're a little bit of, common sense to be prepared. You can keep these dry seeds for years. And in case there is a real emergency, guess what? You're going to be not just eating, you're going to be thriving and being healthy. So, sprout, it's like the principle of a vegetable, but it's concentrated. And it's like almost you have the same type of principle that specific vegetable with much more vitamins and amino acid and nutrients than normally you would find, for example, in the plant. And we will go more into details. Then, also, it's fun It's very simple. It takes few days. And also, it tastes great. I mean, seriously, you can put sprout everywhere. You can eat them with bread, put them with other food. It's a great addition to your meals. Now, how sprouting boosts nutrition is very important, I mean, you can eat sometimes a lot of garbage and you still have no nutrition. But if you eat the right food that contains nutrition, you don't need to eat that much. For example, if you need to compare 1 pound of broccoli and you want to compare with sprouting, how much sprout you need of broccoli to have the same type of nutrients, let's put it this way. A big tablespoon of sprout, broccoli sprout, would be pretty much the equivalent of 1 pound of broccoli. Think about it. And there is so much. So, sprouts are much more nutritious than the regular, for example, vegetable that you may get. And the beautiful thing now that you control the production from A to Z. From the seed, I always like to get organic heirloom seeds, okay? No GMO, no crap, good stuff. And also the water, because I'm going to sprout. When normally I sprout my seeds, I use good water. Okay? That's very important. I do not even use the water from the towns or the cities with all this chloridation or with these different type of chemicals because I'm not connected to a city, so I just use purified water from my well. So you can use the same water too. I mean, just find a way to purify your water, okay? So, very important thing in that sprouts contain also very much absorbable protein. You have an increased level of calcium, potassium, sodium, iron, vitamin A, B1, B3, B6, everything. There are cases of a family that was stranded in some part of Colorado, I guess, during the snow. And they stayed isolated for about 3 months from civilization, this little chalet, on top of the mountain. They couldn't come down. Guess what? They had sprouts. They ate pretty much almost all sprouts, or sprouts only. And after 3 months, they were still very healthy. They lost a little weight, but their blood test was pretty much perfect. They didn't have any type of deficiency in any minerals or iron or any other elements. So sprout, it's pretty much a complete meal. Of course, I'm not saying that that's all you're going to eat, but it's a really good something to think as a survival, as also flavor, nutrient, healthy, and also saving money if you have a family, even if you're by yourself. Now, let's go a little bit out to start to pretty much sprout. And this is a generic little system, that we will go through maybe next few times on Love, Guns, and Freedom on different type of sprouting ideas, okay? First of all, let's start with the basic, okay? You need to get the seeds, as I said. You want to soak the seeds overnight in a bowl with water. That's important. It's almost like reactivate them. The next morning, you want to drain the water and rinse with fresh water once or twice. That's very important. Then there are two different types of system. I like for example, this sort of trays that you can find them on Amazon.com or anywhere, or even the different type of stores, health food stores. They are plastic. They're very economical, and there are little holes, and pretty much there where you keep the sprouts, the seeds. So you can start to get the seeds and layer around on the tray. I like the the tray system with this plastic system, especially for seeds like, for example, broccoli or garlic, some of my favorites, or alfalfa, okay? But now we go just generic. Then what do? You spread out the seeds on this tray, and you want to water every morning and every night. You water this, you rinse with fresh water the seeds. You want always to keep the sprouts wet and clean of mold. That's very important. You do not want to leave the water in, otherwise they're going to get moldy. Then, you want to also be sure that the sprouts never really dry up. because otherwise, if they dry up, they're not going to sprout the seeds. So you do this for about, probably, depends on the seed. Every seed has a different type of time. But let's put it this way. In about probably 4 or 5 days, the average seed start to sprout. And it's amazing. It is something that really gives you the joy to see life growing, and you will see how better you feel when you eat sprouts. I mean, I like to put sprouts, for example, sometimes just a snack, get some sprout, a little piece of bread, a little oil, glass of wine. It's great, great. Don't get me wrong, I'm not, some sort of microbiotic or anything. I like pasta, I like wine, I like everything. But I tell you, especially wintertime, when even my greenhouse, sometimes it gets too cold to grow the vegetables the way I want, I think that sprouting, it's a great system. So this is pretty much what I wanted to share with you today. And I really believe that it's something that we should try. And be independent is the first way to fight back these bastards of the New World Order. Remember, they want you sick, they want you dependent, they want you to go in this big, huge, supermarket, whatever you want to do it, and you're stuck with this GMO food. Pretty much. That's why they want to make it legal in many states to also grow your own food without license. Guess what? First of all, for me, I couldn't care less. They need to first arrest me, or if they ever make it to arrest me, I will never comply to being licensed to grow my own food. But don't get me wrong. Look, I'm not trying to say things that are extreme, because Google it, in many cities, in many municipalities, you cannot grow any more food in your house or in front of your yard. It is proven. And if you want to share this food, now there is also a federal law that pretty much is already out there. So we're not that far. So start to have a plan that in case you don't have, for example, a greenhouse, or you don't live in a farm, you can still have good vegetables with the same principle and the taste and the flavor, saving a lot of money. It's called sprouting. Okay? That was pretty much the little bit of this sort of segment. Normally I would, talk about pasta and recipes and things like that. So I hope I can at least share with you this seed of knowledge and give you some curiosity, and you start to sprout. By the way, there is a book. There are a lot of books. Go on Amazon, everywhere. How to sprout. It's so simple. I did it without book, but then I like to read books, and you can have a lot of fun. Now, we're still into this some sort of culinary mode, okay? Now, as I said before, the best way to have revenge against our enemies is to live well. Here we go. I have this beautiful prosecco from Italy. Beautiful bottle that somebody gave me for Christmas. Thank you very much. It's one of my listeners. By the way, his name is Stefan from Canada. Can you believe that? And by the way, I have also another guy, great friend, Eric from California, gave me some beautiful wine. I really appreciate it, you guys. I'm not an alcoholic person. I just drink for pleasure. That means normally with food, or just to enjoy a glass of wine or a glass of sparkling. I'm not really into heavy alcohol. I don't like whiskey, all these things. So for me, alcohol is just like another part of my diet. I like to... By the way, there's a lot of good vitamins in alcohol. I believe that wine, especially when it's good wine, organic wine, made in the right way, natural way, you have a lot of fermentation, vitamins, and it's good. Make you feel better. I mean, what can I say? My grandfather drank a bottle of wine every day since he was almost 90, and everything was good. But it wasn't cheap wine. It was his own wine. Now, today I have this little prosecco that I'm enjoying, and also I have a little bit of chocolate. It's extra dark chocolate. People say sometimes, chocolate is not good. Guess what? I think chocolate is great, especially if it's good chocolate, especially if there is not much sugar. For example, this is 85% cacao chocolate. Guess what? I'm not a doctor. I'm not trying to give you any type of medical advices, but as a friend, all I can tell you, stay the hell away from doctors, especially when you think doctors for things that really you don't need. People sometimes say, I'm depressed, or I'm so stressed out, I'm depressed. And they go to get pills and pills and pills. And then you really get depressed, and then you really get sick. So I'm not going to tell you what to do, because I don't want to give you medical advices, but I tell you something. My grandfather never went to a doctor, and he was doing fine, till one time they put him at the hospital. Anyway, but for depression, what I do, I'm not depressed, but sometimes, we are human beings, and I think it's pretty human, and I think that's why sometimes to be a little down, it's good, because it's a reminder that we are humans. We are not machines. So we are made of emotions. Sometimes we go up, sometimes we goes down. And some of the emotions, this is my personal, humble opinion, of course, it is not just some sort of, let's say, psychological factor. It's also a chemical factor. Sometimes maybe we are deficient in some vitamins. And as I said, I'm not a doctor, but I'm telling you, I know that vitamin B, the complex of vitamin B, according to my studies and my research, it really helps to keep your mood up. So the vitamin D, that's why sometimes, when there is no sun, people get a little darker, it gets a little blue and depressed. Then they start to look for bottles of medications and stuff like that. And that's where they get you. And that's also where the doctors, unfortunately, have been trained. And when you start to put you on this sort of psycho drugs, guess what? Your Second Amendment is gone. Because it's the new government. Pretty much you want to hook you on drugs like they do with the veterans, and then they take your rights away. So just be careful when you go to a doctor to ask for help. This is still my personal humble opinion. So the only way I would go to a doctor if I break a leg. That's pretty much the story. But if I can fix it myself, especially now with this Obamacare, I think it would be better. So, coming back to us, a little bit of chocolate, a little bit of wine, very good. I really like it. And when sometimes, we talk about all this incredible, sometimes even depressing news, like the New World Order, these globalist parasites of bankers, guess what? Show them that we are really pretty much having a great time. So get your girlfriend, get your boyfriend, get whatever you like, I don't care. Get a bottle of wine, get some chocolate, maybe make a little pasta. Have a party time. Enjoy life. Be happy. Be happy what you have today. Because tomorrow, you never know what's going to happen, especially in these times. So now, I have this little beautiful piece of chocolate that I'm getting. Just do it here in the studio, my studio. Very good. Excellent chocolate, organic chocolate. Then I have this prosecco from Italy. People normally drink prosecco during holidays, Christmas, birthday. Guess what? Every day, it's a holiday for me. Every day that I'm alive, I want to celebrate. I'm not saying that you gotta get drunk every day, but a little glass of wine or a little prosecco, I think it's a good way to be happy that today we are here together with friends, celebrating life, enjoy freedom or whatever it's left, and shooting guns. So nothing wrong with that. So now, I'm going to drink this glass of prosecco alla salute, to the health of you, my dear listeners. And, one second. That was good. Alla faccia of all the New World Orders, and the Bush, and the Obamas, and these parasite bankers that they want us pretty much miserable. Guess what? We are here, we are resisting, and we are thriving. We are reorganizing, we are waking our fellow Americans, and guess what? We're not giving up. That's pretty much the message. Now, since this is romantic time, let's go with a little song. It's a song, one of my songs, and just to enjoy the beautiful peace that we have, and that will continue. And you're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom, the final hour with Luca. It's all about love, food, and news. Don't go away.
Have you ever met someone on an online dating site and thought, wow, this guy is perfect for me, or she is simply amazing, only to find out they were hiding a deep, dark secret? They plan to vote for Hillary. FreedomLovers.us was created for singles who want to exchange ideas and a love for freedom. People who are looking for solutions to create and defend freedom in the real world, and at the same time, getting that once-in-a-lifetime chance to find their true soulmate. Whether you are interested in meeting your soulmate, making new friends, networking, or hanging out with that like-minded liberty lover, visit FreedomLovers.us. It's the first free dating site and community. So patriots, don't waste your time with other dating sites. FreedomLovers.us is the place where like-minded singles really live.
Here we are back at this final hour, relaxing, just enjoying life, talking like we're talking to friends, like I would talk with friends if I had you in my house. You know, I've been visiting lately my website, one of my websites, this new project called freedomlovers.us. And I really enjoy it. I see it growing. I see a lot of interesting new people. There's always, by the way, some Nigerian scammer. I mean, unfortunately, they're everywhere. Try to block them. They come back. You know, that's probably the internet, how it's going to help the African countries. But, you know, beside that, there's a lot of great people. Incredible, by the way, good-looking women, too. And also men. And I invite you really to go to freedomlovers.us. It's completely free, 100% free. And when I created this idea, this site, I really wanted to create more than just a dating site for freedom-loving singles. That's pretty much the original idea. But I also wanted to create a community. So if you're not single, let's say you're just a guy, married guy with boyfriend or girlfriend, whatever, and you want to meet friends, you want to network, maybe you want to know like-minded people, to organize, to prepare, to have fun, to do business even. You know, network means also get together and start to exchange and trade labor or services, things, whatever. We must prepare right now. Because when things going to get nasty, guess what? You better get your group together now. So, freedomlovers.us, I hope you listeners, not only you go there, you read, and if you agree with the mission and what I'm trying to do, you join, create a profile, upload your photo, you can upload your videos, you can, of course, put all your information, and also, more important, you can use the chat rooms, you can use the blog section. There is also an area for chat, and also there is a forum. There is also video sharing, and there is also interesting free video chat. It's kind of very exciting, completely free. You can chat with somebody without any type of extra software, just a little video camera, okay? So I hope you can do that, but also I hope you can share with other friends. We make it viral, and we make it bigger, and we create this community together. Pretty much that's the story. Now, I'm logging in right now. I go to my account, and I like to browse a little bit. You know, I'm going to interview pretty soon some of these freedom singles, freedom-loving singles. And, oh my gosh, we had like 93 new members today. Let's see what we got here. Interesting people. We have, for example, let's see. This is just, okay, a very good-looking lady. Her name is Tommy Chica. Tommy Chica is from City Benicia, California. Blonde lady, age 40. And I know her, by the way. She's also my Facebook friend. Nice lady, very smart, by the way. She's a Ron Paul lady. Or at least seems like she understands and she completely supports the philosophy of freedom. She mentions Ron Paul very many times. And about Tommy Chica, here we go. Political views. Ron Paul all the way. No compromise. Essay. I would love to meet independently. Thinking man. Great. Headline. I'm neither conservative or liberal. I'm an independent. Excellent. She's looking for marriage. She's 40. I think formerly she's from Russia, so interesting background. She's also bilingual. And she has probably also a bigger perspective of what's going on around the world. I think it's always good to have more information from what's going on around, another point of view. That's great. And income, she said, I rather not to say. Status, I want serious relationships. Great. Religion, she's a Christian / other. Family, open to the idea but not sure. Okay. She has a career in accounting and finances. She is 110 pounds, 50 kilos in Europe, and height 5.2. Smoking, never. Drinking, social, like I'm drinking now. It's a social drink. It seems I'm here. Let me enjoy a little more. Eye blue, hair light blonde, slender. Now, what she's looking for, let's see. First date, she wants a hug. Okay, we can do that. Where does she live? In the suburbs. Living with, single. Appearance, good looking. I think she's great looking. Age preference, someone close to my age, me to her age. Level of faith, I believe, but I rarely go to service. I understand because I hate any type of organized church. I don't like to go to somebody that is on the soapbox tell me what to do. I don't want a middleman between me and God, but this is my personal opinion. Anyway, humor, she's sarcastic, and she saves her money. So, that's pretty much just one of the members, free members, because it's free, that, and also now I'm going to send her a little instant message, or a wink, little wink, wink, wink. Let me do that. Here we go, I'd send her a wink. By the way, I'm not winking because I'm trying to do anything. I'm just winking as a sense of friendship. And that's pretty much the idea. Okay? So, and there are many other people. Now, let's see. I think there are also, let's see, some good-looking guys. Not because I'm into guys, but maybe some of you are female. They're looking for guys. And maybe you're looking for the special man. Who knows? Now, there is an interesting guy. He's 67. His nickname here is JW3333 from Honolulu, Hawaii. He's looking for marriage, and he says he's a sovereign individual. And it says, I do not ask to be accepted, regulated, instructed, housed, educated, fed, healed, preached to, or governed, since I personally suffer the consequences of those decisions and actions. Then I will make those mistakes on my own. Interesting character, I like that, independent guy. 67 years old man from Hawaii, Honolulu, that is also him on freedomlovers.us, completely free. Free to join, free to live, and more important, free to communicate and meet people. How beautiful is that? And as I said, though, not is really free because somebody always has to pay. If you want to support what I'm doing, it's very simple. Differently from the government, that they come with a pretty much a gun pointed at your face. That's the way they share your wealth. It is not like an act of charity. It's pretty much illegal extortion. Differently here in this business, since it's a private business based also on free will, with free market, I just ask. I don't demand. So that means if you want to help, you're more than welcome. And I appreciate it, so I can do better. And one way to do it is very simple. I have another website. It's called Zanna, Z-A-N-N-A, art, A-R-T, zannaart.com. All you have to do, you go there. There is a music section, and you can pretty much play or listen to any of my music or my songs. And you can download any of my songs for just 99 cents. Right, doing that with just 99 cents, you help immensely the cause. Because I can produce more music, and also I can produce more projects, like, for example, this freedomlovers.us, or keep also producing the radio show, Love, Guns, and Freedom, that you're listening right now. Then also there's another important thing on zannaart.com. I also started to paint again. The last time I painted was pretty much a young man in Italy, in my pretty much early 1920, something like that. So I am back to paint, and I enjoy it. And you can see some very interesting painting. I hope you enjoy them. Just go check them out. And the beautiful thing with my paintings, I have a very special way to sell these paintings. I don't set the price. You set the price. If I like it, we go for it. Simple as that. And I must also like you. It is not just about like the price. It's kind of an interesting concept for me. When I give a price, when I give one of my painting, I want to be sure the painting is in the hands of somebody who appreciates it and understand my message. That's pretty much the story. So go to zannaart.com and check it out. And by the way, there is also, if you don't want to spend money for a painting, you can also get the prints or the postcards of my original paintings. So this is pretty much about freedomlovers.us. I think there is a lot of interesting, beautiful humanity that you can meet. And as I said, this site is going to grow thanks also to your help, okay? Because it's something that we can create together. Now, I would like to share some other information. For example, there is a point that, we are going to go one day. It is, if we make it to be old, to get old, not everybody has that type of luxury, but there is a moment that, we're going to get old and we're going to look back. Look back at our humanity, at our life. It's like almost a movie. Think about it. And I know probably for some of you it sounds crazy now, this talking, After all, we've been talking about guns and Second Amendment and all these very interesting political, all this world things, our struggle for freedom. And guess what? This is part of our struggle for freedom. When we put everything in perspective, we understand that we are not here for unlimited time, but all of us, sooner or later, we're going to be gone. How much more powerful we can become. And I'm not saying powerful in the sense of greed or to conquer or to control. No, powerful in the sense to be free. Powerful in the sense to be completely say, I do not care. I'm not afraid of you. When these evil forces of tyranny try to rule us, to control us, to intimidate us, we're all going to be gone anyway. Think about it. Why are you afraid of these bastards? They're going to be gone too. Okay? So this is only a question of how do you spend this time that you've been given on this planet. Are you going to be spending this time in fear, as a coward, or are you going to be spending this time with love, try to help your fellow man, try to stand for good, and also ready to stand for a principle, and ready also to do whatever you have to do to be a free human being, to not coward, never go on your knees, stand up. When you understand that, what is a McCain? What is an Obama? What is a Bush? It's nothing. They're nothing. In front of the universe, in front of look at the stars. Sometime at night, that's what I like to do here in the desert. I stop everything and I look at the sky. It's beautiful. There are no lights. And I look at the sky and I look how powerful and immense the universe, the creation, all these millions of stars. Then I try to almost leave my body with my spirit, and I try almost like I look everything from above. You start from 50, 60, 100 yards, maybe you go up 1 mile, and everything gets smaller. And smaller the world and the planet becomes, more you put in perspective everything. What is an IRS compared to the universe? They're just a bunch of little roaches, really. Like bloodsuckers from it's pretty much the Federal Reserve Bank. What is an Obama? What is a queen or a king? What is some sort of a health department from a city or some bureaucrat from the animal control? Who are they? Nothing. So that's why I like to look at this. And, I wrote a little phrase. This is something I do normally in this time. Life is a journey. Everyone has a different path. But at the end, we all pretty much end up at the same place. So, that's pretty much all I'm saying. Now, I say we go with some news, and then we will enjoy some other information about what's going on Love, Guns, and Freedom. Another song, just to enjoy this moment of peace. By the way, I got my Sprout pretty much done. Probably after this show, I'm going to get some of my broccoli sprouts that I prepared the last few days. I'm going to have a little broccoli sprout just as appetizer. Meanwhile, I'm cooking my pasta. Because today we're going to have pasta with beautiful fresh tomatoes and basil and some nice sparkling wine from Italy. Alla faccia di Obama e di Bush. That means on the face of Bush and Obama. Okay, don't go away. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna. Stay tuned. Here we are back. That's another of my songs, by the way. It's an unpublished song. The original song, it's in the CD Don't Tread on Us. I Want to Love You All Night Long. But this is the acoustic version, instrumental. Never been released, but I want to share with you on this show, on Love, Guns, and Freedom. So I thought something you may like. And, talking a little bit about news. First of all, I would like to remind you that the contest that I've been doing is still going on. The Don't Tread on Us contest. And I will play the song one more time at the end of the show. It's pretty much the opportunity that gives you to every one of you that want to participate to have a free $15,000 front site membership, Diamond Lifetime membership. How does it work? First of all, I've been talking about Front Sight several times on the show. I'm a Life member. I'm a Guardian member. Front Sight is an incredible school in Pahrump, Nevada, where pretty much trains more students in firearm training than any other schools in America combined. Their curriculum is great. Don't get me wrong, I like also other schools. There are other great schools out there, but this is the one I train. And what I like about it that there is an opportunity for some people. If you can make it to become a member, life member, you can attend every type of class at front site as many times you want. But it's not exactly cheap. I mean, I tell you, the diamond membership, that's something you can pretty much allows you to do every type of class, from handgun, rifle, shotgun, empty hands, advanced classes, tactical classes, machine gun, submachine gun. It's amazing. It's $15,000. But if you listen to Love, Guns, and Freedom, I tell you how to do it. One of you could get it for free. It's very simple. First of all, I invite you to go to YouTube, or even better, if you go to Amazon or iTunes, or go to my website, zanna.us, and download my song, Don't Tread on Us, by Gianluca Zanna. You can get it for free also on YouTube, okay? So no big deal. If you're broke, do it like that. If you want to support me, go on Amazon or iTunes. For 99 cents, you can get it. Get the song. Then when you download the song, Don't Tread on Us, create a YouTube video with this music track, okay? When you listen to the song, you will listen also to the message. And try to get inspired and create this YouTube video inspired by the lyrics and the music of Don't Tread on Us. Then publish this video on YouTube, put in the title, Don't Tread on Us Contest, music by Gianluca Zanna, music and lyrics, and you send me the link of the YouTube. Simple as that. Once I receive this video of the YouTube, guess what? I will start to select and look for the lucky winner. Meanwhile, the first 20 participants, they're all going to get a free Don't Tread on Us CD. Pretty nice. The idea is to spread the message. You know, when I write songs like Don't Tread on Us, it is not just to write the songs just because I want to write a song. No, it's to share a message of freedom, a message that pretty much we must try to inspire each other with this message, you know. And that's all I can try to do, because sometimes every one of us has different media to try to reach out our fellow humans and Americans. And, you know, maybe I'm not that good with words, but I'm trying to do with songs. That's what I do. So I hope you enjoy the song. And guess what? Since we're here today in this very relaxing third hour of Love, Guns, and Freedom, where I've been drinking sparkling wine, called also prosecco, and telling you about sprouts, and telling you about freedom-loving singles, and we talk about this beautiful opportunity to win a frontside Nevada, we also play some music. So now, I'm going to play for you a little bit of Don't Tread on Us, but I won't play just the regular original version that you can find on YouTube or my site or on Amazon. I will play for you the remix version, that, by the way, is also for sale for 99 cents. But I'll give it to you for free. How does it sound? So, here we are. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom, and this is the remix dance version that I created of my original song, Don't Tread on Us. Don't go away. Stay here.
We're not afraid. You work for us. We're not your slaves. Don't tread on us. You cross the line. Soon you will pay for all your crimes. Don't tread on us. We're not afraid. You work for us. We're not your slaves. Don't tread on us. You cross the line. Soon you will pay for all your crimes. After a long train of abuses and insubmission, now we've lost our patience. You're trying to kill our Constitution, to kill
pushing us into desperation. You will only fuel our determination, yeah.
It's been way too long since the last time, 1776. Now we're done with your tricks. Don't tread on us. We're not afraid. You work for us. We're not your slaves. Don't tread on us. You crossed the line, so you will pay for all your crimes. Don't tread on us. Don't tread on us. Don't tread on us. Now it's payback time. Don't tread on us. Don't tread on us. We're not afraid. You work for us. We're not your slaves. Don't tread on us. Don't tread on us. You crossed the line. So you will pay. You're gonna pay for all your crimes.
That was the remix version of Tread on Us. You know, I like a lot music from the 70s and also 80s, of course, pretty much my generation. And I like Donna Summer. More important, I like also Moroder. Giorgio Moroder was the producer behind and pretty much one of the founders, the pioneers into this techno dance, is not techno, dance world with all these synths and all these little sequencers. I love it. And I like also rock. So I was trying to do some sort of a mix, a blend between my original song, Don't Tread on Us. It was the original much more rock, country rock or some sort of acoustic rock with, like a ballad almost. You can figure it out. And then I created this new type of mix that is a remix version anyway. So now, we're almost at the end of the show. This is the hour pretty much we talk about love and things that normally they keep us away a little bit from this reality. Try to get some energy back. But this is something I could not spare you. I'm sorry. You know what happened in France, or at least we know part of it. I'm just trying to focus on things that right now we can see for sure. There are a lot of ideas. I understand that the concept of false flag, it is not something I'm unaware. I know very well about 9/11, about Oklahoma City. I know that pretty much governments use this crisis to pursue their agenda, controlling agenda, powerful agenda, enslaving and bondage agenda with their people. But now, regardless, let's put for a moment that this situation that happened last week in France, about this supposed to be Muslim, start to get revenge on this newspaper, satirical newspaper, go there and kill everybody and start to kill that man on the street. Now, let's say if that's true, because I have started to have some objections about there are a lot of things that do not adds up, okay? I mean, with all this NSA and different type of control, think about it. There is so much that I cannot believe that the French government was not aware. Maybe they were aware. Maybe they wanted to let it happen. We know there is also a lot of things going on. But regardless, let's say for a moment that this is truly a terroristic situation where, people with a turban, reggaeheads, whatever you want to call them, Muslim faith extremists, they went there and started to kill people. Guess what? This gun control in France did not work. That's a fact. And there was that video that is so shocking, the video of the guy on top of the roof, that shaky hand, he was taking the video while pretty much those two people in a mask They were advancing among the cars and shooting at the head of the cop that was there on the ground. I didn't see any blood, kind of disturbing, but let's say, for example, that's a true act of terrorism. For me, even if it was not true at this point, and if I was in the pants, in the steps of this guy taking the video, I see that there is an innocent person on the ground, unarmed, asking for mercy, and there is a man, coward piece of crap, I don't want to call him a man, with a mask, executing that person. If it was me, if it was here in Arizona, instead of having my little video camera, I would have my M14 loaded with a 147 grain of pure love. And when I say love, I'm not trying to be sarcastic, because that would be an act of love. To defend evil, to defeat evil, to defend life, to knock down those bastards, that would be an easy shot at the distance, even just with the iron sight. So that's the problem, unfortunately, of Europe, the problem where there is no more the right to defend yourself. You've been listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna. Talk to you next Sunday. Amazing news, amazing guest. Meanwhile, stand up for freedom. Never give up.